Can you keep it brief, maybe, is the tagline of this podcast. And that should just be the opening of this podcast. So, hi, everyone. Welcome to Somehow You Didn't Die on Your Way to Work, a transit industry safety podcast. I'm Joe Zeta. He's Zach Librand. I definitely didn't tell him we were starting right now.
Nope. And as the title card says, I am scared by the extra attention. Our last episode
Has done
brought it
better
in
than almost every other episode
combined.
Actually, no, I do want to take a brief moment to shout out all the real homies who keep listening to the the Kentucky bus collision one. There's like two people who watch it, like two or three people who watch it. Like it's like every couple of days, there's like a couple of viewers, which is like it's doing numbers better than almost anything else on the channel. Which I guess that we have people Googling it and seeing that there's a podcast on it.
So I could figure.
If you found this podcast through the bus episode specifically, thank you.
Yeah,
Also,
welcome.
I would like to announce I probably sound like shit because I have probably a cold. I don't know. I did get my flu shot. You should get your flu shot because I've seen the people who didn't, and man, they're having a rougher time than I am.
Oof.
Also, go outside and lick things because your immune system needs that. Don't be like my younger brother who doesn't go outside and gets constant illnesses.
I like to make a practice of not washing my hands before eating after using shared tools.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Remember, kids, licking doorknobs is legal on other planets and is in fact recommended.
It's legal on other planets, but recommended on this one.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'm good. I'm good. Also, in case this sounds weird, NVIDIA Broadcast just updated and they have this new thing called speaker mode, where it says that it simulates a high-end recording studio. It just seems to have made me louder. So we're gonna see how that works. Maybe this will be the only time it shows up, but there's a little peek behind the curtain.
We're going to get like 10 comments going, Jesus Christ, you had the volume normalized. What happened?
I still normalize the volume every time, but anyways, we're going to go on to the next slide, which for once is actually telling you what the episode is about. This is the episode about Air Canada Flight 797. Anyways, now that we've
take
said
a guess, the plane is not supposed to be like that.
Okay, we're really not helping the WTYP knockoff allegations.
This is 100%. This is 100% a WTYP knockoff. I mean,
although I will say
that's how we met each other.
I know the plane is supposed to look like that. That's just how Air Canada treats coach passengers.
Ouch, kids! I'm going to show this to future generations and tell them that this is what the smoking section used to mean.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, the all smoking flight. Up there with Delta Flight 191, and that smoking was rad, actually.
And to go back to the Kentucky bus episode, just like drunk driving was rad at one time, smoking on the airplane was rad as fuck.
Yeah. Although we're not sure if smoking was as radical as this image would imply. There's some dispute on that, actually.
A little bit.
So we'll get there.
We're going to touch on it just a bit.
But yeah. Anyways, we have to go on now to the news. News. So anyways, here's our news brief, which I have. Yes, I can. Give me a second. I can set a timer for
that. Is fully prepared for this episode.
That is in hours. That is not what I'm setting it to. Let's do it for 10 minutes and 24 seconds.
Okay.
So I had don't worry about it. So news brief. We're going to start up here on this image in the top right. In Shropshire in England, a canal stopped being a canal.
Is that what that kind of looked like a train derailment to me, just from the tiny image. I couldn't figure out what the fuck it was.
I sent you this image, and you did say at the time you had no idea what you were looking at. This is a canal in Shropshire in England. That they have these things still in England. It's a thing that it's just imagine the ideal, the platonic ideal of England, and this is part of it. Anyways, the canal in this instance that I did no further research on ran on an artificial embankment that was placed above the ground level, and so the embankment side, which was 200 years old, failed, and so all the water went away into this field, like at 3 o'clock in the morning. So now we have two canal boats in a sinkhole, another one dangling off the edge, and this one over here is high and dry. People actually live on these canal boats,
That's what I
so
was gonna say. Most of what I've seen is people who just like travel and live on them.
yeah.
So
Oh
it's
yeah.
just a bunch of pissed off boomers at this point.
It's a bunch it's British RVers, basically. Waterborne RVers. Um,
The
so
worst of both worlds.
so that's what it is. Again, it's if you are a canal boat person, cool. Otherwise, it's not probably gonna matter to you. Um, then we have these two down here, and we'll get to this. We'll
Foreshadowing.
get to this proper noun later on in the news. There were two midair collisions in mid-December, midair near misses. I'm sorry, near collisions with U.S. Air Force aircraft over um, Aruba and Curacao, specifically like closer to Curacao. JetBlue Flight 1112, registration November 809 Juliet Bravo, which is an Airbus A320-200, um, was flying from Curacao to JFK and almost got pasted by a KC-135 that was at its altitude with its transponder off.
America.
Um, the other one was November 888 Zulu Alpha, a Dassault Falcon 900EX flying from Aruba to Miami Opa-locka International Airport, which was about 100 miles off the coast of Curacao when one of our perpetual fail sons, the Boeing KC-46 Pegasus, just
Mm.
came within like 5 miles of them, which at like 35,000 feet is like swinging and missing by the tip of your finger.
Yeah, there's a lot of room up there. You
The
shouldn't be getting that close without
the
at least knowing.
Yeah, the JetBlue captain, there's audio of this. The Falcon crew was like iffed about this. The JetBlue captain was mad. The JetBlue captain was like furious.
Oh yeah, I would be.
So these are both Air Force tankers, flying without their transponders on. Things were bad. Um, Now, if we go down to this one directly below it, this is a headline and article from trains.com, which I had to snip out just so it would fit on the page. The Yakima Valley Trolley, which you might remember that I mentioned briefly in the MATA episode, is closed.
Very
It's
sad. That was a cool little operation.
Well, it's not closed permanently. So basically, I was reading about this. Essentially, Yakima Valley Trolley owns the Historical Society and the museum, but the trolley fleet and tracks are owned by the city of Yakima.
I
The
knew about the
city of
tracks. I didn't know about the fleet.
Yeah, apparently so. And Yakima is facing a $9 million budget shortfall, and they are cutting everything in the hopes of lowering that. The trolley was a small amount, but as they said, it could be used better to fund the rec center or the other thing there. And so they couldn't come to an agreement with the historical society. And so the historical society basically they operate on like a year by year franchise basis. At the December meeting, a renewal could not be reached. So until at least the next city council meeting in January, at the end of January of 2026, uh, there's no more Yakima Valley trolley. So I imagine that there will
Which
eventually be some sort of way of dealing with this. Heritage operations tend to be like cockroaches in that they will almost die, and
and
then
then all of a
something will
sudden
happen.
their legs will start scuttling again.
Yes.
Somebody will inject just enough money into it to keep them going a few more feet.
Yeah. You were going to say something. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say I do hope that the city doesn't do anything quick or rash with the equipment because it really is a neat operation, but it seems to be very I don't know, underattended, I suppose. Like I
Well,
distinctly remember a friend of mine was made a trip up there just to get pictures of it, and in order to ensure that she got the photos that she wanted, she chartered out the entire damn operation for a day and was able to get anything that run that she wanted to run out on the line and get pictures of it. And she said it was not much
Yakima
to
does
do
not.
so.
I mean, that is the ultimate tourist thing. There are operations that have charged similar. I've been on photo charters where it's been a similarly non-existent cost. Like, I went on the Trains magazine thing. Oh, hold on, we're running out of time here, but basically, who wants to go to Yakima? That's the thing. The Kenosha streetcar is the same way.
Yeah.
Anyways, this thing right here. Well, some guy on Facebook or Twitter seems to have reliable information that Amtrak and BNSF are talking about extending the Borealis to St. Paul using the old North Star infrastructure. The North Star is, I think, almost dead at this point. Which, if you go back to
Tomorrow's the
like,
last day.
oh,
Well,
is
as
it?
of recording, tomorrow's the last day,
Yeah, we
January
record.
4th.
Yeah, and just in case, go back to episode 2 with its god awful audio. I did have a very long
Please
discussion
don't.
on I did have a very long discussion on how Amtrak was probably going to use the Borealis stock, which they might not, but not the North Star stock for the Borealis, which, you know, not all of it, but so some of it's going down to Dart for the Copa for the World Cup next year. But is it Dart? Is it Trinity? Is it whatever?
It's technically both. It's
Okay.
half and half with the other side of it, which is the Tarrant County Trinity
Yeah.
Metro side. So
But yeah,
if
they're
it
going.
pretty much dart bullies Trinity Metro into doing whatever they want, though.
Some of it's going there, some of it's going there, but it'll be neat. We'll get train service again. Speaking of train service, up here, 17 injured on the 19th of December in a New Jersey Transit collision in Montclair, New Jersey. I there I know a couple of people. I know a person who shall remain nameless who works for New Jersey Transit who basically said in that it may have been switched around a train may have been switched around a fallen tree, like gone onto the other track to go around a fallen tree, was not switched back and they bumped into each other. No
Ooh,
fatalities. There'll probably be an NTSB report. Um, this image over here is just fun. The Germans are at it
this is so
again.
cool.
Basically,
But in a good way for once.
yeah, the Siemens Vectron locomotives, basically how it works now because of whatever, they're being shipped off somewhere to do their final acceptance testing so before they're delivered to the railroad after they've been built. Um, two of these locomotives are for, I think, Deutsche Bahn or DB Cargo. One of these is apparently for the Austrian State Railway. I guess they haven't been painted or wrapped or whatever. In either event, normally they're delivered by a diesel, but in this case, some open access operator using a steam engine. So that's fucking
I was
cool.
about to say, as far as I could tell, it just happened
Yeah,
for
it's a
fun.
it's a BR-50. It's so cool. In what's less cool, because we have like a minute and a half left. The Catskill Mountain Railroad was attacked by NIMBYs. Um, and basically the Catskill Mountain Railroad is in Ulster County, New York. This is like all, you know, boomer Karen shit where the Catskill Mountain Railroad wants to run services on this like extra mile of track that they bought. But the problem is that everybody else wants a rail trail on the whole thing. And so somebody on New Year's Eve, like midnight on New Year's Eve, midnight on New Year's Day, went down and set fire to their RS1 number 400, which I think is out of service. But this is not the first time that something like this has apparently happened. There have been
This is
sabotage attempts for.
this whole fight between the railroad and the rail trail advocates has been going on for, I want to say, the better part of a decade, maybe
Yep,
more.
yep,
And
no,
it's just a continuous back and forth about who actually can do what with that right of way.
yep. The worst people in the world are the ones who want rail trails, second only to the people who are that militant about a heritage railroad. It's like everybody loses. This is boomer on boomer violence.
Oh,
And
I mean,
hey,
I'm kind of here for it though.
we just as the timer goes, so that's perfect.
There's our news brief.
There's our news brief. Now, next slide. Here's our news long. Oh shit. Oh,
How long
oh,
are we doing for this one?
I'm not even gonna do a timer for this. I'm just gonna like if it gets beyond like 7:35 my time, I'll cut it. But
Okay.
basically, so for those of you, most of you are either fans of Gareth Dennis or well, there's your problem, statistically speaking. Unless you
Yep.
are like the 4 or 5 of my coworkers who have asked me about this and then actually listened to it, which incredible. Thank you. I don't know why you're listening to this, but I'm so glad you are. Um,
Thank you.
and
Hello.
anyways, um, the Corridor Interoceano is the rail system that goes across the Isthmus de Tehuantepec in Mexico.
Fuck, I
We've
forgot to write that one down.
we've we've noted it's been covered extensively in Well, There's Your Problem and on Garrett Dennis's podcast, the absolute nutcase, whatever it is, operation that this is. They are using mixed stock of British Rail Class 43 high-speed trains and whatever they could salvage out of the United States, which something I didn't put into the news round. Amtrak is looking to dispose of their M Fleet ones in the next couple of years.
Oh,
So
so the Antioceanico fleet's going to get bigger.
yes, basically. As far as I'm aware, the majority of the fleet right now is HSTs because there was nothing else available. They do have a very small number of US rolling stock, namely 3 Amfleet coaches that they got from Rail Exco, this dome car that they got from Rail Exco, and then 3 SPV 2000s that they got through Rail Exco from who knows where. For those who don't know, the SPV 2000 was Bud trying and failing to improve upon perfection and make RDC 2.0. The SPV,
I have a sneaking suspicion where those may have come from, but I don't want to
it's
say anything
Connecticut.
yet.
It's Connecticut. Connecticut had them because
Oh, okay, okay,
SPV,
okay.
as we know, the joke with the SPV is that it eventually became to stand for seldom powered vehicle, because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't work very well. So the state of Connecticut ripped all the motors out and used them for Condot trains in wherever the hell Connecticut is, wherever the hell is in Connecticut. I don't fucking know where people go there.
This
Rhode Island,
so this
but
is an operation that has from the start been called out as not being very safe.
and we,
If you're not familiar with some of the stuff they've done, the fact that they run this line is shared with freight trains, which are like standard US loading gauge freight trains. Uh, Same weights as well. There's a lot of stuff that goes across the border. There are these commuter rail locomotives and these Ampletes and these SPVs, which are all American sized. And then you have the British high speed
high speed
trains, which
trains
are so much smaller and so much lighter. Um,
and made
we've
of
already seen one
fiberglass.
incident. Yeah, we've already seen one
Two,
incident where
two
the
incidences.
locomotive.
There was a second
Yeah,
one like 2
yep.
weeks before this.
I forgot about that one, but yeah, the it's not quite what we thought was going to happen, but one of the two of the high speed trains have just been absolutely torn up in
Um,
grade crossing
Yeah.
collisions.
I thought that the action we would eventually see would be a head on between like a freight train and one of the HSTs, and
That's what I thought it was going to be.
we'd get some sort of disaster that only used to come up in like 1910. But actually, what seems to have happened is that um, so there's several different lines of the Interoceano. The one that seems to have passenger service on it is Line Z, which is
Yes.
the Line Z, is
Line
again,
C
this is
goes from Salina Cruz up to Quetzalcoatl, I believe it
yes,
is.
and it
Uh,
uses again, mixed fleet HSTs and their one heavy rail set. They have one heavy rail set that's a full train, which actually 2, I'm sorry, you each out the dome car is the other set with 2 AM fleets, but the one they use most of the time. And I know this because I follow this Facebook account, Ferio Oficial del Sureste Mexicano, which has frequent photos and videos from foamers across that region of Mexico who film these trains going by all the time. Huge shout out to whoever this account is. But
Yeah, props to them. They really keep us in the loop on this one.
yeah, and basically this so I'm fairly certain based off of what I've seen that the main train set, the main US train set, not the British one, is three all three SPV 2000s, one M fleet, and then their sort of dynamic duo of an F-59 and an F-59 PHI. Now, because I'm like this, the F-59 PHI is a former Metrolink unit, and I believe the F-59 came from Go via Larry's Truck and Electric, which is a major scrapyard out here in Ohio. I actually, somewhere in one of my hard drives, I have a photograph of this and another ex-Go engine in LTEX, like from a distance.
Wow.
Because I will like you see the Go engines, like you can see them if you have the drone out. And it's just like, oh, what the fuck are those doing here? But I don't know which one, and I don't know for certain because, all of the there should be a bonus episode on just how much of a disaster all the Railfan photo archive websites are,
Yes.
and so I have no way of tracking down exactly which locomotive serve these are, but
I
I'm
I
certain
think that
I'm fairly
the
certain.
pair of the F-59 PH and the F-59 PHI is another great example of just how much they were scraping for equipment in a rush.
Yes,
Because these are essentially the same locomotive.
yes.
If they wanted it for aesthetics, they would have gotten more
Well,
PHIs.
they
If
actually
they
do have 2 PHIs. It's just not in use on this one. They have, like
yes.
actually, they also have high hoods that they got, like high hood GP38s and stuff that they've actually painted in this new livery.
I have seen that. That looks pretty cool.
It is but they got anything. They got SD40s, they got, a lot of
It's
SD70s.
very slapdash.
The thing we talked about a couple of episodes, the certified what the hell is that? Um, and a bunch of other things. It's
Yeah.
all just there,
Yeah,
and
that weird little tram thing. But yeah, on
the tram,
the
the cobbled together GP, whatever it is.
so in another instance of we expected to cover a disaster, but not like this, on December 28th, they managed to yeet a train off an embankment.
Yeah,
Uh,
in spectacular fashion
roughly, what was it? 9:28, just south
in
of
the
the town of Nizanda.
yeah, in the morning, which, by the way, I was looking up the schedule for this. It does appear they run every other day. They run, like,
Good
one train they
God.
run one train there and back every other like, it's eastbound one day and westbound the other.
Oh
I'm
my
not
God.
because I was looking this up immediately afterwards, but as far as I can tell what happened this picture isn't just for show. This picture of the train set here is actually from Christmas Day. So, I'm reasonably certain this is what happened. I think the AM fleet might be at the back of the train now because of how you can see the little humps on the SPV 2000s, and then there's not one right here.
Yeah,
But so
why the
basically,
train or something.
they wide the train, but not the locomotives. Who can say? But in any event, the the train was going through a very curvy, very like horseshoe, like it has a bunch of horseshoe curves in it, and for reasons that have yet to be determined, um the rear locomotive, the F-59, turned over, it looks like, and got dragged along by the lead F-59 PHI, while the SPVs went down the embankment and like went down the embankment 20 feet.
Down.
Um,
That photo in the top right, you cannot see the lead car. You can only see the
this-
trailing three. And that one way down in the ditch on the left side of the screen is the lead car.
yeah,
I believe it was 6.5 meters, which would be
20 feet.
roughly 20 feet fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can see the locomotive only stopped because it hit a rock, and now there is one less F-59 in the world. Because look at this.
It just
There's
sheared the body off of the frame
it
off of the
it
trucks, and then
filleted it.
probably put a bunch of cracks all through everything.
The block is gone. The fans are gone. I think the coupler got ripped out too. But this
I
is
gotta turn my head to look. Yeah, it looks like it's gone.
yeah, the front coupler is gone. This was, and so I'm very
But no,
interested though in how undamaged the track appears to be.
notably, that track was inspected at 0600, I believe it
Yeah,
was, the
6 in the
same
morning, the
morning.
same morning. By the they
And
have a little high rail that goes ahead with it. At
mhm,
least they're trying.
yeah. I mean,
Like,
you know what the saying is, you can't fix stupid. So no matter how good your track is, if somebody decides to speed around a curve, it's there should be safety systems in place for
yes,
this, and there's not. And that was part of the issue a
there
lot of
should
people
be
had with the Interoceanico to
there should
begin
be
with.
PTC, there should be speed signs, there should be a lot of things. You know what I'm almost wondering, and this is gonna be baseless speculation. I wonder if whoever they had driving the locomotive on that day has spent way more time behind the controls of the HSTs and is just used to being able to go through corners faster.
Oh, that
Because
would
the
be awful.
because the HSTs are smaller and lighter and designed specifically to go through the god-awful British rail network at relatively high speed.
Hmm. They're designed to
And
handle that better.
and so maybe it's just become common practice with the guys assigned to the HSTs. Yeah, you can take this curve at 60 kilometers an hour, but with the guys with the F-59s are like, "You guys are doing what?
Yeah, you
What?"
got to. If you're in the big American trade, you got to slow down. But if you're in the little British one, you can go faster. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and he just gets in the F-59 PHI and sees, like, the sloped aerodynamic windshield and just, like, the small lever in his brain that says Americano versus England just, like, flips the other way. I I don't know. I don't know. This is all baseless speculation. I do just wanna say some Mexicans are currently saying this might be sabotage, da 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 da
We
da,
did hear a little bit of that, but also sabotage usually has some big evidence of it.
and this does not
So
appear to. This seems like
that track
either
is really clean for track that was supposedly sabotaged.
this looks way more like either the trailing locomotive fell over or it came off in some way due to high speed, or something fucking weird happened, a flange climbed the rail and took the rest of the train with it. Like
Well, I
one of
mean,
those
if that F-59 PH at the rear had wheels that were more worn down than the F-59 PHI, then that could possibly be why the lead locomotive just kept going down the track a little ways while the
yeah,
rear locomotive derailed. It was able to climb the rail easier.
yeah, you can see it right here.
I can't see enough to tell. I want to get out there with some gauges and check it out.
Well, no, you can see the locomotive is what I was saying. You can see the
Yeah, okay.
PHI.
I thought you were circling the wheel there. And it's like, yes, I see it, but I can't measure it. I don't know. Oh, right. What's up next on the docket?
Oh boy. Oh no.
We're doing a sequel.
We're
Were you alive in 2003? Because
yes,
it's
I'm
it's.
not that young, Zach.
I wasn't asking you. I was asking the listener. Were you alive in 2003? Do you remember this? Because it's happening again. Raise your
Yeah,
hand whenever you see the same tactic being used as was used in Iraq.
yeah, it's I was working on this podcast last night. We are filming this January 3rd, 2026. It is 7:40 p.m. At 2:30 this morning, I was working on this thinking, "Oh, I should go to bed." And I just get a thing on my phone. It's like explosions heard in Caracas, Venezuela. And I'm like, did we fucking invade Venezuela? Did we invade Venezuela? I'm walking over there like I'm criticizing a dog. Like what is that in your mouth? Is that Venezuela? Spit
Put
it
that
out.
down. Put that down.
And
Put
I
down the Venezuelan president.
I turn on the TV and lo and behold, and I'm going on Reddit and everything. Lo and behold, we are in fact invading Venezuela. As of time of recording, the US has seized President Nicolas Maduro for
Mhm.
crimes of drug thing. Narco terrorism is the word they're using, which I am willing to believe that he has personally overseen a drug empire. Terrorism is a long stretch. That's like, but that's a semantics argument. Um, Around noon today, Donald Trump announced that we were going to run Venezuela for a period of
Yeah,
time, which I
they straight up kidnapped the Venezuelan president and his wife, put him on a ship, and are
no, they
bringing
put him
him
on a
to the
plane.
U.S.
He
Was it?
landed in New York a couple hours ago.
Oh, last I heard, he was on the Iwo Jima.
Yeah, they brought him from the Iwo Jima to Gitmo, and then from Gitmo, they put him on a
Jesus
757
Christ!
that I do not recognize, but has some form, but like looks like they just delabeled one from like a charter airline and flew it to, which is surprising because if you ever want to fall down a rabbit hole of shadowy airplanes, look up the Comco 757s. Um,
Yeah, I've seen those.
but maybe they repainted one of them, who knows? But, in any event, the he landed at Stewart International Airport in Long Island a couple of hours ago and is being charged with narco terrorism in the Southern District of New York. Um, but I would
So,
like to just sort of recall everyone's attention to, Vladimir Putin's
oh,
justification for invading Ukraine in 2023, which sounds really similar, now doesn't it?
it sure does. And the you know America invading a South American country and instilling their own government usually happens slightly more subtly. Uh, like there's somebody that's already down there that's a political figure that they then weasel their way into power. To go down there and just yank out the president and go, nope, we're doing it now, is a whole new level of brazen.
Yeah, like people were saying the only thing that's close enough is like the US invasion of Grenada. And I'm like, no,
Yeah,
no, I wouldn't go that far.
I could see the parallel, but it's not quite.
Yeah, especially because like I'll be real with the audience here. I always thought that the US invading someplace for its oil was a bit. Like I didn't actually think we did that. I thought we just sort of benefited from it as like an incidental. And if
No, no,
and
no, no.
we're
I keep my
actually
face super clean before because of that, because I don't want Marines stomping all over my face to get the oil.
we are actually invading Venezuela so that we can seize their oil supplies. We are seizing the Venezuelan oil supplies and like pumping them and selling them. And I'm just like, okay,
So I've
are
got
we the baddies now? I don't know.
we've been the baddies. I
Yeah, but
think
like
we've been the baddies. I've got
different level of baddie.
this is true. Um, I've got two things of note about this. Number one, anybody who made a bet on America invading Venezuela on the day that the justifications for redacting certain parts of the Epstein files were supposed to be released, come on up to the desk, get your winnings. Unfortunately, there were so many of you, so you each get about a nickel a piece,
That's
but you
how
won the
Kalshi
bets.
works, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Which did you hear about the time that Kalshi uses like the International Institute of War's map of like the Ukrainian front lines to bet on which towns will be seized?
Jesus, that's grim.
No, I've got it. It's better than that. There was a parlay bet placed on like a certain town on the front line getting seized, and then the map changed to show it getting seized, and the bet was collected, and then the map changed again.
Oh,
Somebody there. That's not even insider trading. That's like rigging it.
yeah, you're just rigging the game.
But I thought that was spectacular.
The well, speaking of Ukraine, the second thing I've got that I would like to point out was that during a news brief today, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, and I quote, "Well, what can I say? If dictators can be dealt with in this way, then the United States of America knows what it should do next." And I want to make this very clear. That was not a message to the government. That was a message to the people.
Yeah. I'm also way more concerned with what else Donald Trump said at his press conference around noon, which is that
Uh,
we might invade Cuba next.
Yeah, I thought that was a joke the first couple of times I read it, and
No,
then I looked up and yeah, we're looking at Cuba. But why Cuba?
I don't know.
Cuba imports
Why?
oil.
What is the fuck? The Cubans are just over there, like being themselves. They don't do anything anymore.
They really don't.
The Castros are dead. They don't even like. When do you hear about Cuba in the news? Please disregard this if you speak Spanish and live in Miami. Okay, when do you hear about Cuba? Otherwise,
that almost never. I cannot tell you the last notable thing that they did that made the news. I did actually the only thing I have heard about coming out of Cuba is they've been doing some apparently insanely impressive research into cancer treatments.
yeah, the Cuban health system is apparently not bad. Also, the only other thing I've heard about them is that there was one of those fume events on the 737 was a Southwest flight out of Havana. And so I think the Cubans are investigating that
Mm.
because they're like the agency of record. I don't have anything else. I'm like, can we not? Like Jesus
Yeah,
Christ, guys.
I would like to just for a little while not live in a period of time where something incredibly noteworthy that will be lumped all together in the dark age happen.
I
Like
don't want
I
to live
just
in a history book. I don't
yeah,
want
I
this
can
podcast to be a historical record for this slide.
can can we just live in the period of the history book where it just goes, yeah, so for like these 7 decades or whatever, nothing really notable happened, blah blah blah, go on past it.
Which for by the way, for any historians who are looking at this, I took this photograph at 2:42 AM on my phone of the Al Jazeera English YouTube live stream that was playing on my TV. So that is you get that information. Cool. I
It
think that's the news though. So do we want to go on to the rest of the thing or
I
is there
go on. I guess I'll close it out with I'm glad that with my birthday a couple of weeks ago, I am going further and further from draft age
oh don't worry, they'll draft pensioners and everything too.
eventually.
Yep. Right. So going on, today's theme of the episode. That's right. We still have themes. You know, it's not just don't let foamers run a railway. Today's theme is fire. You know,
Okay, fire.
our frequent enemy of the podcast, fire. This is the third time it has shown up after um
It can
episode
be a
one.
friend or it can be a foe. Unfortunately, most of the times it's here, it's a foe.
Uh, this is and specifically, as we said, some period of time ago. Let's see how long ago it was. Nope, there we go. 41 minutes ago. We are, of course, talking about Air Canada Flight 797. Which this image was taken by Werner Fischdick. Did you notice that when you put this in,
Yes,
Zach?
I did. That's why it's in, even though it's in an older paint scheme and it's not quite the same.
It's
This is our plane in question today, as captured by Mr. Fishdick.
yep. So to go on, we must first ask ourselves, what is an airplane?
Cool as fuck. That's what it is.
Yes, for those of you who do not know, an airplane is a vehicle that travels through the sky with wings. Um, we could
How are
I
you
okay,
listening to a podcast if you don't know what an airplane is?
I'm gonna just say, I really don't wanna have to explain an airplane from first principles. So just if you know what an airplane is, then if you do not know what an airplane is, then how are you listening to this podcast? You have to have heard about it at this point.
An airplane is a spit in the eye of God. He didn't give us wings for a reason.
No, JJ the jet plane is spit in the eye of God.
Well,
The
that's the next one.
you know, I can't believe they aired this show where people could see it.
I don't. I probably would have asked to have my name taken out of the credits if I was involved.
Yeah. Oh God. Have you watched this when you were a kid? Did you watch
Yep.
that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Hang on. I tried because I was a Thomas kid, and I was like, oh,
So
another
was I.
vehicle with
I
faces. Let's watch. That's got to be cool. And it just never caught my attention
no, it
as
caught
much
mine
as it
very
should have.
well. It caught mine very well. I think the VHS tape is still in storage.
Oh
I
wow.
looked up the theme tune for this, and now I got sleeper agented again. This happens to me every once in a while with music from my childhood. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I was at an anime convention near my house, and there was a guy dressed cosplaying as Chip Skylark from, Fairly Odd Parents,
Oh
and
wow.
My Shiny Teeth and Me downloaded into my
Oh,
head from the cloud without my consent. And
funny enough, I don't get the audio triggers so much for the sleeper cell. Most often the one that I get is smells. And
really,
the most recurrent one I've had for over 20 years now. Uh I cannot tell you what the hell the smell is. I have no clue. But every time I smell it, I am back in the hallway of a hotel in far northeastern China playing with my new little sister while the orphanage director stands at the end of the hall and watches us. Not like in a creepy way, but like just kind of making sure that this kid he's been taken care of is going to be all right. I have no clue why that one shows up.
that's wild. No, okay. You want to learn a very specific fact about me. So, okay. If any of you ever go to Las Vegas, Nevada, this is smell memory related. Go to Las Vegas, go to the Mandalay Bay
Smell the
Hotel and
street vomit.
no, no, no. Go to the Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino. This is 100% legitimate. Go to the Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino. Go downstairs to the beach level entrance from the taxis. Like like when you come in, there's a main entrance where all the cabs come in, and then there's a second level entrance down below called the beach level. If you go in through the doors there, whatever scent they've been making the hotel smell like, mixed with the slightest bit of chlorine from the pool, has not changed since
What
my
the fuck?
parents started taking me there in like 2003. Because I went there in like I went there last year, last January for CES. It smells the same. It smells the same down there. I make a point to go there now and see if it smells different.
Funny
Like
that
the
both of ours come from 2003.
oh, I don't know if it's 2003, like early 2000s.
Oh,
Because we went, my parents like gambling, so and we went to Disney World once when I was a small child, and it never again, according to them, never again.
it is a bit
So,
of a nightmare.
no, I was young enough to be scared of everything, and my first word was apparently exit. So, I was scared of literally everything up to and including It's a Small World, with the notable exception of wanting to go on Big Thunder Mountain Railway, presumably because it had a train on it.
Because train.
But no, for those of you who have been to Disney recently, that Bugs Life theater ride that's there that they just closed, um, I told my mom that she was so thrilled because we waited in line an hour for that, and one of the first things they do is one of the bugs farts on the audience, and that was enough for me. And so we had to leave very quickly. So I we went to Las Vegas, Nevada for vacation for like 10 years. In the early 2000s when Vegas was cool. When Vegas was added to Apex.
All right, what do we
So,
got? We've established that the airplane is a vehicle that apparently transports you to either trauma or sleeper cell training.
trauma sleeper cell training or Las Vegas.
¿Por qué no los dos?
The Porque no was tres, actually. But we now have to ask another question. What is Air Canada? And I know that there are
Eight.
some Canadians listening to this, and the answer is not bad. The
I,
answer
after doing this research, I might argue otherwise.
I've been told that modern Air Canada is like one of the worst airlines to fly on, except for all the other Canadian airlines.
Oh my god.
WestJet apparently has taken a real downturn recently, but
I we, I don't think I can ever fly Air Canada. I'm still pissed about what they did to my man, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit.
but so Air Canada, very broadly is the state air carrier of Canada. They're no longer state owned I because privatization and is neoliberalism the right word?
I think so.
I don't like using neoliberalism because it's one of those glib phrases that you can just say, but I think it might be. But in any event, Air Canada is no longer a state-owned corporation, but it was at the time. So it still
Hell,
counts.
it was even further than state owned, wasn't it? Wasn't it still crown? Wasn't it a
That
crown owned
well,
corporation at the
that
time?
it's a crown corporation, which in Canada was the same thing,
Oh,
because
okay, okay,
because Canada is still a British, like it's now the Canadian crown, but it's still the same thing.
okay.
Queen Elizabeth owned everything,
I can't keep track with this sometimes.
but uh, it had from like 1968 to 1992, it had basically the same livery, which is this gorgeous um they called it Canada Modern, this sort of like clean design language for Canadian corporations. Absolutely beautiful. Love it.
It definitely has a nice 60s aesthetic to it.
Just absolutely wonderful.
It the color the color of the middle band almost reminds me of Braniff Airlines.
It probably we'll talk about Braniff in a minute.
we, we will.
We will. But no, this is what Air Canada looked like in the mid 80s and 90s. Um, bonus points if anyone knows what this jet is. You know,
If you know more than me.
okay. Good. That's a very subtle joke then for the listeners.
Oh
Just
boy.
but anyways, Air Canada is the national air carrier of Canada. At the time, it ran most domestic and international services. Nowadays, carriers like WestJet and WestJet are basically also there. Canada's air travel market is very small. It's what the American carriers wish they could be. But anyways, now we have to talk about a very specific Canadian airliner. Charlie Foxtrot Tango Lima Uniform, c-ftlu. This is a Douglas DC-9 32, serial number 47196, delivered to Canada April 7th, 1968. Um,
Now, wasn't that after the McDonnell Douglas merger?
mm,
Wasn't
I
this an
don't
MD plane?
know. I don't think so. Can you Google when McDonnell Douglas was? Because I thought that was much later,
Yeah, hang on.
like at least 1970. Also,
Boop-a-boop.
The DC-9 series wasn't even labeled as a McDonnell Douglas until they started coming out with like the MD-80s in the late 70s.
Okay, yeah, I see what it is. So they merged in 67, but the stuff that was made on each side kind of kept its own brand for a while.
Yes. It
So
actually like
it's a Douglas DC-9, technically made by McConnell Douglas. So this was early in their career of trying to kill people most efficiently.
yeah, well, no, actually, the DC-6s had this really bad thing where, like, they would catch fire and then sometimes, like, the fire suppression system would kill everyone. They've been doing
Ooh,
this for ages.
spicy.
There was an Admiral Cloudberg article about this, and I can't remember any of the details of it, but yeah, the DC-6s also killed you. Um, I think the DC-8 is really the only one that's, like, God's perfect aircraft, and even then, that would do things too.
Yeah.
You have to it's the issue is that, like, as the further back you get, it's like the more it's like, how much of this is nobody knows how to fly a jet? How much of this is nobody knows how to maintain a jet? And how much of this is Douglas aircraft will kill you?
No matter what, there's always one floating around in there somewhere.
Yeah. Now you might notice that this aircraft shows the registration CF-TLU instead of C-FTLU. Now, if you think that I'm going to let this go unaddressed, you don't know me. Uh, I went and looked. Apparently, before 1974, Canada had a different prefix for aircraft, which was CF. And so After 1974, everybody had to redo it so that it was now C-F because Canada has so few aircraft registered with them that you can base that literally every aircraft registered in Canada that is not an ultralight is either C-F XXX or C-G XXX. That's it. They have two. They don't have enough airplanes for that to matter.
I wonder why the ultralights get the the distinction.
Uh, Probably
Are there
because there's
is there a comically large number of ultralights in Canada?
probably. I mean, you've got to remember that like a lot of these are going to be like some guy in like Yellowknife who built it out of a kit
Yeah. Yeah.
that he got from Canada Tire.
Yeah. Or like ordered it out of the back of Popular Mechanics or something.
Yeah, nowadays it's all from Temu. I saw a
Oh,
video of a guy testing an Amazon.com parachute and it ripped immediately.
no. Oh
He did
god.
have he did like have a real parachute on, which is why I was not concerned for his safety. But
Oh my god. Why would you even buy the Amazon parachute besides testing it for the video?
I think that was the only reason why. Imagine returning that.
Yeah.
Imagine
Yeah.
returning an Amazon.com parachute that's torn in half.
I would be tempted to throw some stage blood or something on it before I packed it up.
Fantastic. Oh my god. Um, so
Excuse me.
c-ftlu had up had 36,835 hours, 34,987 cycles, which for anyone who's not aware, cycles is basically how many times it pressurizes and depressurizes. So as opposed to hours, which is hours in flight. So basically,
Mhm.
this airplane, you can tell from this that this airplane has a lot of short haul flights under its belt,
Mhm. A lot of them.
which and this is back in the 70s and 80s when you had a lot of multi-stop flights. So you might be going from like, city A to city B to city C to city D, all in the course of a single day. Um, this aircraft had a relatively uneventful life from 1968 until it decompressed in 1979, and I'm really proud of how this slide looks. That font works fantastically.
Yes, it does.
Uh, I also like that somebody did just manage to get a photograph of the ass of the airplane to show exactly what we're talking about.
Somebody just took that picture. They had no clue how useful it was going to be.
No, and even better, this is like literally a month and a half before the decompression incident. This is in 1979. This is like in June of 1979. And
Perfect.
on September 17th, 1979, CF-TLU, operating as Air Canada Flight 680, was flying from Boston Logan to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, which is a routing that I don't think anybody would expect to exist nowadays.
No,
Um,
no.
it suffered a major decompression incident at 25,000 feet, where the tail cone, which is this white bit right here, the aft door, because remember the DC-9s have stairs that lead out, the DB Cooper
Mhm.
stairs and everything, that went, a lot of the and a shitload of the aft passenger compartment, like, you can see there's a seat back here that's been damaged. A lot of the, like, tanks for the aft lavatories were ripped out. Some of the galley modules, like, everything back there sort of, like, flew out of the back of the airplane. It basically,
Well,
it farted. It had the biggest fart.
thankfully, because there were so few people on board, nobody died. Everybody was away from the ass end when the ass fell off.
Yeah, nobody died or was even remotely hurt. The plane returned to Boston, was repaired enough to be flown to Air Canada's maintenance base at Montreal Dorval. You might know it now as Montreal Trudeau International Airport. And
Oh,
yeah, they renamed it because it was in Dorval, Quebec, but it's now Montreal Trudeau Airport um,
Pierre or Justin?
here. Although, I got to bang Katy Perry International Airport is a pretty catchy name.
I would fly there just for fun,
Yeah, right?
just to say I've been there.
But,
Where are you
it
going? I'm going to Bang Katy Perry International Airport.
But in any event, God, I say in any event so many times. The plane was repaired and returned to service. It turns out that Air Canada had inspected the airplane with X-rays, and there was a crack in below the aft bulkhead access door, which was discernible on X-rays but not detected.
I'm trying to figure out what the fuck that means.
That means that there
What?
was probably a fatigue crack that you could see
Yeah.
if you knew what you were looking for, but probably they just didn't
Mm.
look. It
Yeah. What
it's
else would what else would be crack shaped? Did they think there was a hair on the negative when they exposed it or
I'm
something?
willing to bet that this is a cross between Gord wanted to go home on Friday early, or like the X-ray technology was not distinct enough, and so it's like, is that something, or is that just schmutz or whatever? This is 1979. Safety has only been recently invented. They're not, like, looking at this really close. Clearly, they didn't look at it very close. It's in medical terms, this is within normal limits, which is, slang for we never looked.
Yeah. I feel like if somebody had actually been paying attention, that plane would have gotten a little extra attention, maybe with like a Magnaflux test or something to
The eye or
highlight that
something.
crack
It's
and
yeah,
see. Well, hell
and
yeah! Can you just look at it?
I guess not. Maybe it was an internal crack. Who knows? Essentially, somebody probably got fired. I'll give them
So
credit.
fucking fired.
Somebody did get fired. Um, but you can see here exactly how bad the burst was. Imagine if you were the guy in the very back of the airplane, like sitting like you just wanted to not be near anyone, so you were in like row 28. It's like, gosh. Suddenly you could
I
see out the back of the plane.
I want to see the press conference after this. Did they have one of theirs? The back fell off. I'd like to point out that's not typical sort of moments.
I don't know. I don't know. Although it should be noted that the back actually is supposed to fall off if you like pull the emergency thing. The tail cone can drop off. I think in the set.
Carefully timing pulling the lever so that it lands on my enemy's roof.
Yeah, no, Gord's rival was out there with a fishing boat off the coast of Massachusetts, so it landed on his trawler and sank him.
Well, see, that Yankee dared to insult Red Green, so he had to do the needful and drop the tail cone on his head.
Was Red Green on the air in 1979?
I don't think so, but
Nope.
I can't I can't pass a Red Green joke.
Mhm. Oh, Red tried to fix it with duct tape. That's what it really was.
No,
No,
give
no,
him some credit. It was the airplane stuff, so it was speed tape.
it you know sometimes you gotta go out, you get these X-ray machines, and I think you can make one for a lot cheaper. And it's just like it's a light bulb from an easy bake oven in front of a sheet of photosensitive paper that he stole from the local craft store. And there's just a flash bulb that goes off, and you can see him in front of it in stereo, which is cut in directly in front of the crack.
I would want to see how he would mash this together.
Pull starting the engines at the end with a lawnmower cord. Remember, guy, if women don't find
If
you
women
handsome, they
don't
should.
find you handsome, they should at least find you handy.
And then the theme
No, no,
plays while the plane falls apart like the Bluesmobile.
I think you would have to start the engines up with a pull cord that was attached to like the most beaterest of beater cars, and he drives it off to rip start it.
Oh my god, that would be yeah. He's got a K car, and he just turns the thing, drives away, and that pulls starts the engine. The Air Canada service to the Possum Lodge broke down, so we've got to fix it. But speaking of
All right,
fixing
all
it,
right, all right.
speaking of fixing it, the Possum
Enough
Lodge crew
obscure
was
Canadian humor.
the Possum Lodge guys were very busy actually, because as you can see here, this is what in this wall of text, this is what was done
Good.
to FTLU after the aircraft
Well,
was
yeah, that makes sense. There's a
broken.
lot of wiring back there.
So essentially what happened is that there wasn't a real great amount of damage to the wiring of the aircraft at first. However, having to rebuild the entire aft pressure bulkhead and aft accessory compartment meant that they had to cut most of the wires to put new things in and then splice them all back together.
I'm sure nothing
Now,
went wrong. I'm sure
um,
they got every single wire back exactly as it should be.
so I would like to point out that the NTSB, after the 797 accident, spoiler alert, did say that they found all of the splices from the repairs at Logan, and they were
Good.
intact.
Okay.
So theoretically, nothing went wrong. However, just between June 1st, 1982 and June 2nd, 1983, the airplane received 76 write-ups, just about like the engine generators and the APU.
Hmm.
They're like there was, which is for those who don't know, the APU is a small auxiliary motor that runs the electrics in the plane when the engines aren't on, which is in the back.
It's what keeps the lights on when you're boarding and
And this
deboarding.
airplane had, and this is just what I could find in the NTSB report, there was apparently a load of other write-ups for electrical malfunctions in the airplane between when it was reintroduced to service at the end of 1979 and 1983. Um, so between May 7th, 1983 and June 2nd, 1983, so less than a month, 38 APU malfunctions were written up.
Okay.
This is like one of those gen sets that you have to run at work.
Yeah. It's just like the same guys writing up the same 3 or 4 things every single day. That seems familiar.
Yeah. And um, so no real issues were found with anything else in the airplane except for on May 2nd, when there was apparently a leak in the toilet detergent tank, or the
Ugh.
toilet like effluent tank. And so the insulation at the bottom of the pressure bulkhead was soaked in toilet fluid. It was connectors checked and tightened, also insulation replaced where needed. Somebody was very mad about having to go down there and do that.
Oh yeah, I would be.
Um, Also, in a much bigger change in 1982, Air Canada refurbished passenger cabin, during which they removed the right aft lavatory and replaced it with a clothing stowage area, and they modified luggage bins and replaced the cabin walls and ceiling. This was done with a assembly kit manufactured by Heath Techna and was actually fully certified and everything done. It was a standard kit that you could buy for the DC-9.
Yeah, and as long as you followed the instructions, your plane would pass inspections.
But I just do want to point out they removed an entire lavatory. We
You
keep
don't
talking
need
about the
2
shitter.
bathrooms on the on the short haul flight.
Well, just in the back. There's two in the front, I think. But we keep talking about the shitter in the back of the airplane. This is because it's very important that we talk about the shitters in the back of the airplane.
Mhm.
And um, you know, and at the time, the aircraft seat cushion material was polyurethane foam. The interior cabin walls were made of acrylonite butadiene styro ABS plastic. And the
I didn't
ceiling,
know that's what ABS stood for.
I didn't either. And the ceiling panel was made of composite Nopex honeycomb core with fiberglass facing materials. And the cabin sidewalls and ceiling panel facings were made with decorative vinyl laminate with Kevlar facings. Does any of these long chemical names sound familiar to you?
Uh, Vinyl scares me. Um,
Uh-huh.
Polyurethane foam.
Not
Let's
great.
see, ABS. ABS isn't great, but it
Um,
does say that
this
all the
it
materials in this kit met the flammability standards.
Yeah, the same flammability standards that now not they're not the exact same ones, but I'm pretty sure that bus manufacturing records were also within standard
Hmm.
in the 1970s.
Hmm.
And I should also point out that after the accident, a couple of the surviving seats were tested, and their insulation their foam had broken down significantly from in contact with human body sweat and everything like that.
Oh,
So
I don't want
this,
to know what that amalgamation would be
oh,
classified
it's
as.
probably just crumbly, but it's like this is not good. This is not good. This is 1970s, 1980s fireproofing, which, as we all know, doesn't work.
It fireproofing safety hadn't been invented yet. General safety was still new.
So,
Fireproofing safety wasn't a thing.
no, it really was. There's a reason for that. In fact, you might know why this. We'll talk about what caused people to care about fire safety in airplanes. Hint: this is it.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Anyways, now we need to go into a
What we
specific
had to
date.
sacrifice to make them care.
Yeah, this is a specific date and a specific time, and a specific flight number. So Air Canada flight 796 c-ftlu left Dallas on June 2nd, 1983, operating Air Canada flight 797. Its routing was a typical route at the time, which was leave Dallas, arrive at Toronto Pearson Airport, and then fly to Montreal Dorval. Well, which is why, it's got so many hours and so many cycles. It does shit like this all the time.
Yeah, this one is kind of interesting that it has one long hop and then one little hop.
Yeah, well, I guess there wasn't enough demand for Montrealers and Torontonians to get their own flight to Dallas.
I guess.
Also, you know what? Actually, Canada had just stopped having high speed rail between Toronto and Montreal. So maybe they were trying to pick
Oof.
up this because the turbo train was retired in 1983.
Oh. Huh. So is this maybe picking up the slack?
Possibly. I'm not sure. Maybe they're just trying to beat VIA at their own game because, of course, you can have state sponsored infighting.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Slap fight.
But in either event, this is what happened. This is the routing. It took off from Dallas Fort Worth at 4:25 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and would continue onwards into the Eastern time zone as the flight progressed. All the times in the NTSB report were given in Eastern because Central time is worthless.
Excuse you. Wash your mouth out.
As is Mountain. Eastern time is the best time because that's where all the people are.
Arizona time is best time because it doesn't change.
The best
I guess
time is
Arizona and Hawaii.
the best times are those weird time zones where they offset it by half an hour.
Oh, I love those. Those are so cool.
Or I think there's one place in Australia where they do it by 15 minutes. Which
Okay,
just
now you're
is
just trying too hard.
I love that because I have my watch is actually one of those ones with a computer in it that sets the time based off of radio information. So I can't go to places like that and have the watch work.
Oh,
Just won't. But in
what do we?
I'm not saying in any event, Jesus fuck. Going on to the next slide. This is the crew. I looked. The only photo that I could find of any of the flight crew was Sergio Benetti's of any of the cabin crew was Sergio Benetti's obituary photograph from last year, which was about 7 pixels.
Take the
So
wheel for a moment. I gotta go pee. I'll be right back.
so the flight crew on this plane was fairly experienced. Captain Donald S. Cameron was employed by Air Canada that since 1966. He was rated on a bunch of different airplanes, including, I think, the Grumman Goose, I think you know what the Vickers VC9 is, one of the various Lockheed Electras, and then a bunch of Douglas aircraft ranging from the DC-3 to the DC-9. He was a very experienced captain. He had about 13,000 hours, of which almost 5,000 were in the DC-9. His first officer, Claude, we met was compared to Captain Cameron. He was a relative newbie. He only had like 7 years of experience. No, actually, no, he was coming up on a decade. He had how many hours did he have? He had 5,600 hours, of which almost half of them were in the DC-9. And Again, this is a very experienced flight crew. This is not like a lot of airplane accidents where there's like, you know, the captain had 17 million hours, whereas and the flight and the first officer had two, or even worse, when both of them had no hours. They were very experienced. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they had no real. There was a lot of skill. I believe they were both, or at least Captain Cameron was from the Air Force. I want to say doesn't matter. Um, in the flight crew, you had senior flight attendant Sergio Benetti, who has been in the job for about 11 years. Flight attendant Laura Kayama was Sergio Benetti was 37. He actually just died last year in 2024. Um, no, 2 years ago now. It's 2026. Holy shit. Um, Flight attendant Laura Kayama was, I believe, in the back of the airplane, and then Judith Davidson was up front with Sergio, and she she had just about 10 years of experience. Laura Kayama had about um, I'm trying to do math on the fly here, doesn't work. 1976 to 7 years of experience. I'm so sorry, and they all, you know,
That
everybody in
was
here.
hard to listen to and not be able to help. I'm sorry.
I realized very abruptly I need someone to bounce off of, or d or don't tell me that you're going to be, and then I'll just not notice and talk
Well,
a
I also took longer because normally my wonderful wife helps kind of like take care of the house and help me with food and drink while we're doing the podcast. And she's out tonight, and I realized I had to feed the dogs while I was up. So
oh, you had to oh, I thought okay, I'm sorry. Anyways, I also
I
was slow.
no, I was prepared for the drink. I have a cooler next to me right now.
Jesus Christ. I was slow rolling it also because I need you for the next slide, because this is the Zach hit me with the autism ray by accident,
Oh,
because this
oh,
is a
look
photo.
at that beautiful little airport. There is fucking nothing out there. And look, there's not the weird loops to, well, actually, yes, you can. They did have the left-hand loops to get to the terminal at the time, but that's okay because there wasn't that much traffic. You could just park right up there next to the terminal and it probably cost you like $1 a week and nobody cared because this was still a relatively young airport.
Yeah, Dallas Fort Worth International Airport in the 1980s. Um, this is what happens when you try to when people complain enough about Dallas Love Field and what's
Fort
Fort
Worth, uh, Great Southwestern Airport, I believe it was.
okay. This is when people complain enough about that they make an airport in between the two cities, which at the time was in the middle of nowhere. And and so you have everybody moving from Love and Great Southwest into DFW, which really at the time was Braniff International. Braniff International, one of God's great prototypes of an airline. Uh, God's own
Braniff,
pro
Pan Am. I think this was early Southwest at the time too.
No, Southwest, Southwest stayed Love. Southwest really boomed because of Love being empty.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And the Wright Amendment because DFW opened.
Yes. Um, but
I should
anyways,
be. Maybe it's
this
maybe it's good my wife's not home. She might smack me for that one for not knowing
this
that.
this should be like a 2 second. This is what the airport looked like. But the problem is that Joe looked at all the airplanes and went, "Oh, I love Braniff," because I got exposed to anyone ever read Airways magazine? They have gone downhill so much. I no longer read them, but they had a bunch of retrospective issues of old airlines, and I read the Braniff one, and that one stuck in my head way too much. And now I know way too much about an airline that died in 1983. Um, so I would just like to point out that this image could only have been taken between like 1978 and 1983, 1982. 1982. This is because Braniff went out of business very suddenly in 1982 because they expanded dramatically during the after the deregulation of the airlines because most airlines applied for like a couple hundred new routes and Braniff applied for 1,700. and leading to the joke that Braniff was then told to go to hell and applied for route permission to fly there.
Go
Um,
big or go home.
But anyways, I know that this photograph was only taken between 1978 and 1983 because of this airplane over here. This is one of their 3 Boeing 747 SPs that they had delivered in 1978. And so there's only 3 of them. I believe it is N602, 603, and 604BN. And then down here, because I'm just going to expose you to how much I know about this airline. This is N610BN right here, which you can tell because Braniff had several 747s on the roster, the most famous of which was N601BN, which, talking about cycles for a second, this airplane was one of the highest hour 747s ever made,
Oh my
because
God.
it had N601BN was Braniff's first 747. They got it in 1971. That thing flew from Dallas to Honolulu and back every day for until 1978 when they got a
Holy
second
shit.
747.
What
That
did they
airplane,
do if it had to go down for maintenance?
it didn't go down for maintenance, and on the few times it did, they put a DC-8 in service. That airplane had like an hours to cycles ratio of 0.14.
Oh
It
my
it flew
God.
2 cycles a day at that. It was in the air for 15 hours most days.
I
And
bet you that was a pretty cushy run, though, as a
oh
pilot or
my
an
god,
FA.
it was the flagship service of the fleet. It was in all the ads, but they had it in their 1960s paint scheme, the with the end of the plane campaign, which meant that it had a white tail that said BI on it, as
Yeah.
opposed to the 1970s flying colors scheme, which you can see on most of these 727s parked around DFW. This airplane is painted in the 1978 Ultra paint scheme. However, if you look over at the 747 SP, you can see this little white stripe on the end of the vertical stabilizer. That is the Ultra stripes. They came with stripes on all the nacelles and along the body, except for N610BN, which did not get that. I think it might have been leased. I think they bought it eventually,
Huh.
but it did not. So you can tell. You can tell. Okay, you did this to me, Librand. Do you know I was looking up tail numbers because because the other thing in here is this 727 taking off, which I'm fairly certain is in Perseus green. They only painted 4 in that color.
I well,
N456BN
now that you've told
and
me about now that you told me about the
N461.
747, I have to wonder if my mom might be in that photo because I know her family used to love to go to Hawaii all the time.
Well, no,
And
610. 610 didn't do the Hawaii route.
I got it
601,
backwards. Oh
601,
shit.
601BN, otherwise known as 747 Braniff Place, flew that route
All right. Hang
with
on. We're talking about an airline that's not even part of the topic today.
no,
I'm
you did
sorry.
this to me.
I'm sorry.
It flew that until the day it did a couple of excursions off to like Paris and stuff when they introduced new routes, but it did do the Hawaii flight until the day Braniff shut down.
Jesus.
It was literally the last flight to land. They flew there and back because Braniff closed down when they were in the air.
Oh,
But
that's a hell of a surprise.
yeah, the crew was told, yeah, the airline's out of business, divert to LA. And the captain said, nah. And they flew to Honolulu, picked up passengers, and flew back. But anyways, Zach did this to me. This is no one else's fault. It's not even mine. I physically could not stop doing this. So,
Oh dear.
anyways, back to the incident at hand, which is not what was wrong with me. We have now a fuse panel on the DC-9.
Yeah. I love this. It looks so cool.
Yeah. Now, did you have the information for this, or do you want me to do this one?
I brought, let's see. Let me pull out my notes, which are now all out of order because I forgot that we rearranged a lot of this. I think it's time to start talking about the incident.
The incident itself, yeah, I don't have the time of the incident starting at hand.
So I actually do have that one. 6:51 p.m. or 1851. Three breakers on that panel tripped, and they were all associated with the aft lavatory flush motor. The reason that three of them tripped was because it ran on three-phase AC, and there was a breaker associated with each one. All three of them popped out. Captain tried to reset them, and they popped right back out again. He didn't think much of it. Let's see, about 8 minutes later, he tried to reset them again, and they continued to pop right back out. And he didn't think anything of it because apparently the DC-9s were equipped with toilet flush motors that like to just seize up and fail. So the fact that it tripped meant just indicated that the toilet was broken again and nothing more.
And yeah, as opposed to me, who works in a building with high voltage electricity running through it and gets very concerned when a breaker snaps back up again.
Yeah. Yeah. So uh let's see, 1859, he tried to reset the circuit breakers a second time and nothing happened, so he just left it off and didn't think much of it. A minute later, a passenger alerted the number 3 flight attendant. I was not able to link names to the numbers used in the report.
I
Uh,
think if we let's go back. It's probably Judith Davidson because she is the because she is the youngest.
Maybe,
No, she's not the
possibly.
youngest, but she's the one that has the least. Oh no, it would be Laura Kayama. I'm sorry. Why did they have them in that order? I don't know. Um, one of the girls, because Sergio was like the head flight attendant.
So, passenger smelled something funky from somewhere in the back of the plane and asked whichever one of those two flight attendants it was to investigate. So, they kind of started sniffing around, and whoever the number 3 flight attendant was realized that the smell was kind of coming from the bathroom. So she grabbed a CO2 extinguisher, opened the door, and saw. Let's take a look at that next slide.
The shitter's full of smoke.
Well, well, at that point, no. Well, the image on the right is a DC-9 lavatory. It was pretty much that, but a little bit cleaner. This picture is from a plane that had been decommissioned for quite a while, and somebody took a picture of the lavatory for some reason. But
They knew we needed it.
somehow, just like the guy who took a picture of the tail.
Yeah, right.
But it wasn't quite filled, but there was definitely some gray, smoky haze in the air.
Yeah,
Number
and
three.
I. Oh no, keep going. I know where I'm. I need to wait for you to say something else first.
The number 3 flight attendant gets the attention of the number 2 flight attendant and asks them to inform the flight attendant in charge that there was a situation. Flight attendant in charge tells the
Sergio.
number Sergio tells the number 2 flight attendant to notify the captain of the situation, and then he also grabs a CO2 extinguisher, starts helping move passengers up towards the front of the plane and opening up these little things called eyebrow vents to increase air circulation through the cabin. Uh, Sergio then took that CO2 extinguisher to the lavatory, opened the door, and observed thick black smoke curling out from the seams around the vanity, but no open flames. And the vanity is just that little area that has the sink in it and a paper towel dispenser. And notably, I believe that was might have also been where the ashtray was, but I can't remember.
I don't think they had an ashtray in there. The other notable thing in there is right here is there's the oxygen mask in case you happen to be on the can when the plane depressurizes. So,
Uh, nope, there was an ashtray left side of the sink.
oh, okay,
Look at the
yeah,
diagram.
but
Yeah.
but no, the trash
But yeah,
can
there
was right
was
here.
Yes,
which
there was
is
a trash can and an oxygen mask hidden behind a panel that would pop out
yeah,
if there was an emergency.
yeah, and plus the sick bag disposal, the sick bag container, the toilet paper, basically a lot of stuff that could burn. Um, I would also like to just sort of make a note that it was immediately apparent that the fire was not inside the toilet, was inside the walls, not in the toilet.
Hmm.
But the only firefighting equipment that could have been used at that point was the firefighting axe, which was stored in the cockpit behind the captain. And however, at that point, nobody really wanted to be the one to tear up the interior of the airplane to search for the
No.
fire.
Yeah, you could start swinging an axe into some bad stuff in there that nobody really wants to.
So at that stage, Sergio just unleashes with the CO2 extinguisher, hoping that'll do something, and then sort of like shuts the door.
The term was he saturated the area. That did kind of make me laugh. Just him standing there, squeezing the trigger and just like casually kind of waving it over. And yep, it's a job.
Yeah,
Uh,
hopefully that does something.
I hope as much as I can do.
'Cause
So,
it also should be noted that the actual inside the trash can,
oh yeah,
there's a little halon fire extinguisher that is like permanently affixed that has
yes,
heat sensitive nozzles that melt the coverings off of above 180 something degrees, at which point it just dumps under pressure into the trash can, with the understanding being that like somebody is smoking, they dump a cigarette in the
in the
trash
trash
can,
can, it
and
lights all
it's
the stuff and they're on fire. That puts it out.
yeah.
It also, if
So
I remember right, Halon also gives you like weird aggressive forms of cancer if you inhale it.
Halon usually doesn't get that far because Halon replaces all the oxygen, so you die.
Oh,
Halon's one of those things. It's like when a nitrogen leak happens, and it's like, oh, I can't. Oh, there's just no oxygen in here, but your body doesn't know the difference, so you just breathe normally until there's no more oxygen for your
yep.
lungs to interact with, and then you just go like, oh, clunk.
And you just go to sleep and never wake up.
Yeah. Actually I don't know if Halon gives you cancer. It wouldn't surprise me. But it definitely Halon will just asphyxiate.
At the very least.
So
So, flight deck is notified. The first officer was sent back to investigate. Um,
he went back twice.
yeah, the first time he did come back up, he took a look at the situation, came back up and told the captain, "We better land this."
Well,
Uh,
no, the first time I think he came back and was like, we sh it seems like it's under control. A couple of minutes
no, he
later,
got he got talked out of it.
and then he comes back, and then the second
And
time, he sounds concerned enough that they're like, we need to land now.
first time he did say we need to land, but then the flight attendants kind of talked him out of it, and then he
Oh,
went back and
okay.
looked, and he was like, "Yeah, it looks like it's dying off a little bit. Whatever it is, it can probably wait until we reach Toronto."
Okay, then the
Uh,
third time is when they was there a
yeah,
third time? Yeah.
if I read it right, yes, it's a very the timeline, the way the timeline is laid out in this report, made it fairly hard to follow. So it was either the first officer went back a third time, or the flight attendants changed their tune and they started saying, "No, hey, yeah, we were wrong. It's getting bad."
Yeah,
But it all happens very quickly.
basically, this is enough back and forth that I think everybody on the airplane was mildly concerned at this stage. Like, this is a bad flight to have a fear of flying on.
And all of this is happening in the span of between, let's see, what time did the breakers first pop? 1851 to 1906. Uh,
So 6:51 to 7:06.
706, that's what, 15 minutes?
If that, 14.
Yeah. Because at 1906, the captain then contacts the Indianapolis Center, and asked them. At first he only asked them to stand by because they were experiencing a quote unquote electrical problem. Nobody had clearly told him that there was a fire.
Yeah.
The warning lights start going off in the cab,
Yeah,
or
while
excuse me, in the
while
cab,
first
in the
officer we
cockpit.
while first officer we met was out, all of the alarms started going off at once because the fire is clearly burning through wires.
Yes. Uh, this actually started affecting instrumentation to a certain degree because they noticed that the first thing to go was the attitude directional indicators. And if you don't want to look that up like I had to, you know, the little round thing that you see in every cockpit ever that's half blue on the top and half brown on the bottom, and it lets you check your level if you're leaning one way or another or if you're rising or falling. That thing was just like doing flips in its little sphere.
Yeah, because fun fact, the DC-9 has all its engines at the back, so all of the power cables have to run the entire length of the plane.
Mm-hmm. Everything's got to run up there.
So this is what we call bad.
Well, the AC and DC buses had also lost power. Please don't ask me to explain buses. It's electrical engineering stuff that, as far as I can tell, a bus is just a big bar, and
Yes.
they lost.
I work with electrical stuff every now and again.
Okay,
Yes, a bus bar is basically a giant thing that is a bus bar is basically just a giant
it's a
thingy that
it's a hunk of metal, isn't it? A strip of metal, basically.
most of the times, yes, I think, and it just basically runs through what's called a busway, and you tap the main feed off of it, it goes down to the distributor panels. You can have this at various levels of like size. Feel like fun fact, USB stands for Universal Serial Bus.
Is there a bus bar in there?
I think it might just be maybe it's just a little bar in there. I but yeah, the bus beam is the thing that you touch and then evaporate. Like don't touch that. That's bad.
Don't you, there's a lot of power in there.
Yeah.
But the AC and the DC buses for the left side of the plane had lost power entirely. The
Because that's where the bathroom is on the left
Yep,
side of the plane.
yep, right in the same neighborhood. The captain, the first officer had come back, so the captain instructed him to activate the emergency power switch, which was on that side. I don't know why there wasn't also a switch on the captain's side, or if he just didn't want to touch it.
Well,
And
he
then
was
they
probably
finally
having to hand
decide
fly the airplane.
that, yeah, it's a lot of instrumentation at this point.
Like,
So let's.
mm, oh, what were we saying? Let's go to
I
the
was
next
going to say,
slide.
let's go to the next slide. So they
Wow,
contact.
they've caught a laminitis too.
I know it's tragic, isn't it? The first they contact the Cleveland, or excuse me, the Indianapolis Center. Uh, reported that they were having electrical problems. Then lost Cleveland and actually picked up Louisville.
Yeah, because
And
Cleveland Center runs like almost to it runs south quite a ways, but not all the way. So you've got a bunch of different like regional air traffic control centers in this area. You've got Indy, Cleveland, and then Louisville as well.
oh, that's weird.
It's there. There's a con. Oh, I'm gonna have to look this up. Hold on. I know where it is. You keep talking.
So we are now at 1908 or 7:08 p.m. The They just now decide to declare Mayday. The Louisville Center is talking to them at this point and asks if they could make it to Cleveland, which was 25 miles away.
Yep.
Um,
Cleveland is not 25 miles away. Are you talking about
from
Louisville?
the reports that Cleveland was 25 miles away, maybe from their location in the air.
Cleveland Center is 25 miles from Cleveland City because Cleveland
Maybe
Center
that
is in Oberlin.
was it.
Because no, the air I actually have on the next slide where they offered the airplane Louisville Standiford, which is now Louisville Muhammad Ali,
Yes.
and the captain did not want to do that because at the time they were too high to get to Louisville. And so they instead chose Cincinnati, which I've actually I mocked this up here.
Uh, shit. I tapped out. I was trying to scroll through the report. Okay.
Yeah,
Did I fuck up and put Cleveland instead of Cincinnati? I probably just fucked that up. That was probably on me.
I love live research.
Live correction, more like. Well, there was a bunch of handoff kerfluffle between
Cleveland,
Indianapolis, Louisville,
Lexington as
yeah,
well.
they were in there as well. Everybody's trying to figure out where this plane's going to land.
Also, it should be pointed out that it is getting increasingly harder to fly the airplane. The cockpit is filling with smoke. And this is basically like the most hellish conditions one can imagine. Like,
And it's
like,
getting darker
yeah,
outside
like
too.
it's getting darker. It's not dark yet, but like the
It's
captain,
getting to be that weird twilight time where it gets really hard to judge distance.
yeah, Captain Cameron is like, and I mean this both literally and figuratively, fighting for his life
None of
at
the
this stage.
instrumentation is working. If it is, it's barely working. The radio is apparently a little scratchy because it's on lower power due to them being on emergency power. But eventually, they made it to Cincinnati at 1920.
Just barely.
Just barely.
It should be pointed out that at this stage, the cockpit, the entire airplane is full of smoke. And not good smoke either. Not like this is like black smoke.
Oh yeah, it's the black oily shit because you're burning all those plastics
Yeah.
back there.
So yeah, they end up landing at Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Airport. Zach, do you remember which runway they landed on?
36.
Oh, good.
It didn't.
This does not have enough information to tell me which. There's not enough granularity to tell me which one.
I was expecting to see like a 36 left or right or something, but the report just says runway 36.
Oh, then maybe it's this one.
Wait, the report has.
Maybe it's this one.
Hold up. There's a big old diagram that also laid out where the fire station was. Oh, that's the one where the ass fell off. I was looking at the wrong document. Doodly-doo. Bear with us. I'm so sorry, everybody.
I should have mocked this up. I was thinking that and I just didn't. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Somehow You Didn't Die on Your Way to Work,
We are professionals.
A podcast that is definitely your second choice for engineering disasters and calamities. We appreciate you. We appreciate that you chose us at all.
Where'd he go?
I'm imagining,
no.
considering that it is 3-6, that is close
Probably
to
a north
vertical.
south.
That is close. Yeah. It's probably one of these. It should be one of this is a more recent Google Maps image after Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Airport has expanded massively because it is one of the biggest cargo hubs in the world.
Oh my God. They fucking rotated it and they don't actually mark. So yeah, it's the north-south runway.
Is it this one?
Hang on, I gotta flip back over to that window. If I am let's see, where's that weird little cutout? Maybe not.
I think it might be down here. I think it might be like around here.
It might actually be the one that goes across, which wouldn't make any sense if it was runway 36.
Well, this one it's crossing this one.
I don't know. I'm lost.
I think it's right around here because I'm looking at the image on the next slide, which we can go to now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, buddy.
So this is bad.
That plane was on fire. They were met on the runway by fire and ambulance.
By fire and ambulance. And so I have some notes that I was writing down. So at this point, inside the cabin, The plane is filled to the brim, like it is from ceiling to knees of the passengers with thick, choking, acrid, cannot see your hand in front of your face smoke. It is you're basically in your own private hell that contains you and the shoulder of the man next to you. There is almost 100% certainty that you are going to die. Um, the flight attendants evidently had enough time to pass out wetted rags to some people. Other people are using their own clothing as like masks and stuff. One passenger had already suffered enough lung distress that one of the flight attendants was giving him supplemental oxygen from the big bottle they have in the front jump
God.
seat. The the rest of the flight attendants were going through were going through the airplane, I assume off of supplemental oxygen, checking people's seatbelts and everything as they prepared for landing. Did not and then locked themselves into like row 3, just so they could have like someplace to sit for the landing.
Yeah,
Um,
because you're not going to sit in the jump seat in the back. That's for damn sure.
and the PA system has died. There is a megaphone apparently in the overhead bin in row 2, but due to the whole calamity of everything, nobody thinks to use it,
Been
which
there. You forget about the most basic stuff when shit
and
goes down.
I think either that or they didn't like they were already in such a state that it just didn't like I think someone thought about it, and at that point, it's like, that'll waste time. Also,
There's
with
also
it
not very many people on this plane.
there's not a lot of people on the plane. There's also, the higher you get, the more smoke there is, so I imagine that trying to find the bin would be bad. Um, the plane touches down on the runway. Captain fuck, what's his name? Donald Captain Cameron is, like, dying of exhaustion. He's, like, not even the smoke. He is dying of actual exhaustion having muscled this plane in because you can't really see. He can't really figure out where he's landing. I think most of the powered control systems have, like, died, so he's doing this off of, like, sheer force alone. It's a hellish disaster at this stage, like, absolutely no anything, no help, and he gets the plane down, and he is exhausted, like, to the
Oh,
point where, like,
even the landing itself was dramatic because the anti-skid system for the landing gear wasn't
failed.
working, so they blew out all the tires.
Yeah, they blew out all the main gear tires. The plane comes to a stop, and he is sitting there so exhausted that he can't move. Um, First officer we met escapes the airplane through one of the windows on the first officer's escape hatch, and
They
which
just
involves,
slide the
like,
window open.
rappelling down a rope to the ground, and Captain we met just is not moving. He is just fully, like, cannot escape the enormity of what has just happened to him, to the point where the only reason why he gets out of the plane is that the fire department, at First Officer Ouimet's urging, shoots him with foam through the window, which shocks him back to
Jesus.
reality enough that he, like, jolts into, like, motion, throws open the window, and doesn't quite rappel down so much as he throws himself out of the airplane to the ground below. Like, this man,
That's a hell of a wake-up call.
that is a hell of a wake-up call, but he needed it. He would be the last person out of the airplane. Because and we'll wind the clock back like 30 or 40 seconds. The plane touches down, doors open, engines off. The flight crew had deputized the people in the in the overwing exit doors as the door openers, which, as we would later learn from incidents of the British Air Tours Flight 28 Mike, um, opening the overwing doors was not a universal thing, but in this specific instance, everybody did it flawlessly. The people who are actually in the exit rows have no memory of being instructed how to open them, but the people sitting around them remember the instructions being given. Um, um,
That's an
in
adrenaline rush right there if you don't
in
remember it.
in any of the ways, the doors were opened successfully, thrown out onto the wing or something, and
They
or
were
some
they were
or
open on
on
both sides, weren't they?
Yes, no, there were
Yeah.
3 of them were open. So we have, I think, 2 on one side and 1 on the other. In the front, the flight attendants open the main door, which is on the left, and then the other flight attendant opens the main door on the right. Um, Now, nobody uses the right door except for the flight attendant, which I think is just because we've like in the Paris Metro episode, we mentioned this, where people are naturally right-handed, so they'll turn to the right. However, every single airplane you board from the left, so everybody just goes out the main door that they anticipate. She is the only one who goes out the right door. Also, I think that if I had to say anything negative about the flight crew's performance, I would say that she's shouted, "Come this way," waited like 3 seconds, and then jumped out the slide. I feel like you should have waited a little bit
You
longer
could have waited a little longer, but
because
also
no,
humans are panicky.
humans are panicky, but the issue is that what would happen is that a lot of and I'll go to the next slide now. A lot of people died. So I don't Zach, did you write down the exact number,
Number of what?
fatalities versus people on board?
It was no, I should have. I should have. Boy, I'm a dumbass. 41 passengers on board.
It's like
I think
18
it was,
survivors. I just counted them. No,
yeah, it's
19, 20, 21, 22, or something. So about half the plane survived, and you can very clearly see the breakdown of people who were around the overwing doors and people who were around the front doors. And then there's all this clumping of people in the middle. And so,
and the two stragglers in the
well,
back.
no, we're gonna get to them in a
Oh,
second.
I
So
know. Oh, I know.
the people here in the middle, so the smoke was so thick in the cabin that multiple passengers who did survive stated that they found the emergency overwing exits either it's because there was a small blot of light that they could see through the smoke, or as one woman put it, um, she felt a draft on the back of her knees as she walked
Oh,
past it. So you couldn't see this like out the doors or anything. Um, so so most of the people here either were trying to make it to the front or they didn't get out at all. They didn't get up at all because we have people who are dead in their seats. Um, this is because a lot of the smoke there was cyanide, fluoride, and all those other fun elements that end in "ide," which, as we talked about in the Carrollton bus collision, kills you, like, immediately. You breathe this shit in, and then you die. And
damn near
so
immediately.
and so a lot of people were probably overcome by this before they even got out of their seats.
Hmm.
Or they made it into the aisle and then passed out. Um the 2 people back here are the most unfortunate ones. They were in the aisle. I think that the general assumption is that they tried to find the overwing exits and walked past them and
Hmm.
but it's
Because
just
we're going to talk about what that led to and what did we learn.
yeah, because the smoke was so thick you couldn't see the overhead lighting or anything. The plane was pitch black. It was getting darker outside, so it was just it's a very small slice of hell is what's going on inside this airplane. Um, and again, there was no PA system. Nobody thought to use the megaphone. Apparently, and with one flight attendant who already escaped out the right side of the airplane, I think there was only like one flight attendant on the left and who was left, and there was not a lot of instructions given. There was not a lot of instructions given. The air was only breathable if you got further down. So, anybody who tries to stand up is presumably getting into the thick of it, then they die. So it's
Getting gassed out just for standing up.
yeah. Um, and so some definitely didn't find the exit. I'm assuming that some either didn't hear the evacuation call or they didn't make it. And essentially, what happens is that if you made it out of the airplane, aside from some residual smoke inhalation and whatever happened to Captain Cameron when he threw himself out of the window, you were fine. You had some minor injuries. You were absolutely fine. And then the airplane flashed over. The airplane flashed over about 90 seconds, like I don't
60 to 90 seconds was
60
the
to
timing
90,
that I saw.
60 to 90 seconds after the plane touched down. Um, the interior of the aircraft flashed over into absolute firestorm, burned the entire aircraft to the ground. And if we go to the next slide, turned it into a convertible,
Yeah,
which
so
I would
we've
like,
had
I
we've
would,
had a fire that was burning for quite a while, and then we introduced a shit ton of oxygen into it by opening up all these doors and windows in the cockpit.
yeah. And I would like to,
And
and I would
oh
like
yeah.
to point out that 60 to 90 seconds is an abhorrently long period of time in modern aviation safety for the passengers to still be in the airplane and deboarding.
Mhm.
Nowadays, the A380 is supposed to be able to completely empty itself of passengers in like 90 is almost too long. Like they are like the fact that there were still people in the airplane is atrocious. We don't have like a comparison to this because, but like I don't. Okay, we have comparisons to this. I just don't have pictures of it. The Japan Airlines A350 incident that happened on New Year's Day last year in 2025, where I know it was like January 2nd, literally a year ago yesterday, was an A350 hit a Bombardier Dash 8 on the runway at Haneda, and the airplane skidded to a stop, was on fire, burned to the ground. It was a domestic configured A350 with almost 300 people on board, and the plane would burn to the ground in under half an hour. Everybody was out of the airplane within a minute and a half. And that was
Jesus.
because the captain like slow rolled it a little bit, getting out of the airplane to search for anyone who might not have gotten out. So compare that to this, compare that to the Air Canada, not the Air Canada, the Air France flight that crashed at Toronto in 2005, I want to say. That one had a very similar thing. The plane crashed off the end of the runway, burst into flames, airplane burned to the ground, and nobody died. I think it was like under 2 minutes, everybody was out. This should not have happened. This should not have happened
Was
in terms
such
of
an underloaded plane too.
with such an underloaded plane. This is like peak 1980s airplane fit. The plane's not even full. We can do this nowadays with a full wide body and nobody dies. This is abhorrent that this occurred. This is like it's a crying shame that the NTSB report does not focus more on the absolute shambles of an evacuation that was on the airplane. Because that was like that would have saved probably half the people on board, if not more. Because obviously, some of them probably died from smoke inhalation before the plane even touched down.
Yeah, there's always going to be those who are incapacitated beforehand, but
Yeah,
the fact that so few made it is shameful.
yeah. Also, one other thing I'd like to note now that I've looked at this photo more, they managed to deploy the aircraft's internal stairs for the
I did
investigation.
notice that.
Like
I
you're
mean, I guess
using,
it wasn't damaged, so
I
they
get
got to
you're
have a
using
way
the.
in and out.
I'm just amazed they managed to power it with considering.
I'll bet you there's a manual override somewhere.
Yeah, using the corpse's own stairs to enter the body. Um, and because we're gonna stop talking about the plane here after this, I believe one of the wings was donated to a DC-9 that lost its afterwards. Yeah, there was
Okay.
a I don't remember the exact circumstances, but another DC-9 hit a snowplow while landing somewhere and lost its wing, and so they ended up putting the wing from this one right on it, and then they cut up the rest because obviously this
Yeah,
is
you're
this
not going to
is
get the
this is
wings
not
are
an
about the only useful thing in there.
no, the engines were intact too. The engines were intact. But, other
Huh.
than that and you can actually see right here the huge scorch mark that right where the bathroom would be,
Yeah, that little rectangular patch right back there, about a third of the way down the
the
port side
engine.
engine.
Yeah. And so, yeah, this is the end of c-ftlu. This is very, very bad. It's
I
the
I don't think there's a there's enough adjectives to describe how bad this is.
appalling, abhorrent. Well, the worst thing to happen in Cincinnati, except it didn't happen in Cincinnati
Shut
because
the fuck up.
Cincinnati Airport is in Kentucky, because Cincinnati is a fake ass city. It sucks. This post made by the North of Columbus gang. Fight me over it.
Columbus.
Fight me over it, you chili eating fuckers.
Well, why don't we start
Well, we
talking about
gotta,
the
yeah,
culprit?
yeah. The culprit is the shitter was full.
The
Actually,
shitter was
no.
full of fire. Somebody
The
let the
shit.
magic smoke out.
Somebody had the spicy burrito at the first Texican restaurant to exist in Dallas, and they let it out in the airplane.
Texican. Tex-Mex?
Is it? Yeah, I've heard Texican as a word too.
They're wrong. Whoever said that
I
is wrong.
It was a Canadian video that I heard, so that's probably why.
Ugh. Ugh.
They had the spicy they had the spicy food, and it
Oh,
went
how'd that
through
go?
them.
Ooh.
I can only well, we see here the toilet's burnt up.
No, the real thing about Tex-Mex food is that it works both ways. You get the really spicy food that wants to run right through you, but then it's also just absolutely drenched in cheese to block you up.
Uh, the pressurization of the airplane pushes down on it.
New rule: you can't get on a plane after eating Tex-Mex. Take
Bombs
Amtrak,
away,
fucker.
not like that. Bombs away and it's napalm.
Oh, I'm getting some
But
sympathy burns. I think we need to move on from that one.
yeah, so this is the interior of the toilet in c-ftlu
Uh,
after it was recovered. Um, there
that's fucked, mate.
Yeah, it's proper fucked. Like, it should be noted the vanity that was here was aluminum, so it melted.
It's just gone.
It's just gone. Um, Almost none of the airplane survived. Apparently,
The
the only seats that survived were in row 12, which was the one directly outside in the overwing exit, so it got sprayed with foam,
oh my god.
which is why they survived at all. But, the airplane was entirely destroyed starting from here.
The I saw that the oxygen mask that was in that kind of middle compartment in there, what what they found of it was just a lump. It
Yeah.
had just been melted into a lump. It burned so hot in there.
Yeah, because I bet the oxygen generator went off, although at that point, it doesn't really matter. Because at that point, you're, like, already in such a state. There's, like, absolutely nothing left except the sink. Apparently, the door for the bathroom burned to within 16 inches of the floor.
It's just
So,
burning down the door like it's a tree that's been hit by lightning.
yeah. Actually, funnily enough, you mentioned lightning. I'll come back to that in a bit, but, like, I'll just do it now. Like, one of the we're gonna have to talk about the causes of this. And one thing that I just can't help but feeling is that, like, you ever see the videos of cars that get struck by lightning while they're driving? And
Yeah.
the comments are uniformly full of people that say, "You need to get that fixed and then trade it in immediately because the wiring's fucked."
Yeah.
That's what this airplane is.
Pretty much.
That's what this airplane was. After the aft pressure bulkhead, which is right here, you can see a dude standing back here because there's the end of the airplane. Once that blew out and they had to rewire everything, you've now introduced so many different wiring faults that the airplane is just done.
So many potential places for wiring
Yeah.
faults and shorts. Because I mean,
And
look at that spaghetti of electrical wiring towards the bottom left of the photo over there. Every one of those wires was cut and reconnected, and any one of them could have been done improperly.
yeah, it's bad. It's super duper ultra bad. And there's just no good way to fix it. Like, you would have to
That
strip out the
plane
entire
should have been retired.
You know, you'd have to
Or
strip out the entire airplane and rewire it.
yeah, yeah. If you rewire it like entire looms of wire through there, start to finish, like it would have been wired from the factory, that's about the only way you could definitively prevent this.
Yeah. Maybe a cargo conversion, because then it wouldn't have had any of this stuff.
That too.
But this plane, like you could tell already within like the 3 years it was in service, this plane was a hangar queen. It was
Yeah.
getting written up constantly for things involving electrical faults. And it was
Well,
already getting to be like 15, 20 years old. So there was also just stuff going wrong as it was.
oh yeah, you've just got normal airframe fatigue.
Yeah, like one of the causes that the NTSB tried to figure out was that maybe the AP, like the terminals on like the APU were starting to corrode, and so they might have been causing shorts. Um,
Well, let's talk about that cause, Joe.
yeah, yeah. What is the cause?
What may have done it?
Who the fuck knows?
Nobody fucking knows. This got burnt so badly they cannot figure out
Well,
where the
it's
fire
not
actually
on.
started.
Yeah, they don't. Okay, so basically, there's 6 potential causes at the NTSB.
Six.
Yeah, so obviously there's an intentional fire, like arson or something, or an explosive device. There's
Somebody lighting up trash in there or
there's the
throwing a
trash
cigarette
there's the
in the
trash
trash
catching
can.
on fire. There's the flush motor for the toilet overheating. There's some form of wire splice failing. There was some other thing with the toilet that also could have failed. And then, oh no, I think they had counted arson and incendiary devices 2 separate things, like an
Yes.
explosive devices 2 separate things. And then
Yes, they ruled
finally,
out a bomb.
the main AC line went under the main AC bus for the left side of the airplane went directly under the toilet.
There was a grommet that was supposed to be in these holes in the airframe that had the wires going through it.
Yeah,
And this rubber grommet would keep the insulation from being chafed off by the metal airframe. However, they can't tell if maybe that grommet wasn't in place or if it had been shifted out because everything was burnt so thoroughly that they couldn't even tell if there had been one of those grommets to begin with.
yeah. And, like, there was also other issues, like the wiring loom that ran to the toilet and a lot of the other, like, service elements in the bathroom was supposed to go down this specific routing, and it turns out it wasn't. It was going through a different way that was stuffed around the back of the toilet. Um,
That
we
could have
don't
done it.
we don't know if the toilet motor, they tested variations of the toilet motor to see how if what would happen if it broke and it stuck on and it was jammed or if it was, like, seized, and that got to,
Yeah,
like, 4 or 500 degrees, but it didn't, like they couldn't figure that out. The wire splices that they could find seemed to be intact, but in a lot of places, the insulation was melted off the wires themselves, so nobody knows if the wires were still good or if the wires were shorting and arcing.
these guys were like taking the motors that flush the toilet and recirculate the blue goo and hooking them up to
Putting them through
power.
putting them through torture tests, yeah.
Yeah, putting them through torch tests. They would hook them up to power and then like put a vice grip on the shaft that comes out of the motor and then put that up against a wall so that the vice grip would stay up against the wall and the motor couldn't turn and then just sit back and watch it for a while. And like Joe said, they got it up to somewhere just north of 500 degrees, if I remember right.
Yeah,
Like
and, like,
it,
toilet paper in they set toilet paper on fire in laboratory bins, and that got up to, like, 1,200 degrees, but the thing is the halon system would have gone off. They think the
yep.
halon system went off because there was a vent because the heat followed the wiring loom up into the trash can because it went near the trash can, and then that just sort of trapped the heat in there. So there was there's so many different causes, and then Jesus fuck, there's just absolutely no way of determining which one they still do not know. Like, they're just going like, "Yeah, we don't know the actual, cause of ignition."
It it's a mystery.
It's just
We're never going to know.
no. No, unless you have a time machine and X-ray vision, and are willing to put
There's
yourself on the line.
Ugh, that it's a bad situation. But did we at least learn anything from this?
Oh, fuck, dude. We've learned so much.
Actually, surprisingly, this is one of the few episodes we'll probably ever do where we can go like, yeah, you can see the results of this every day.
Yeah, no, actually, so this is not the only airplane fire in the 1980s that brought along a lot of changes. So there was, as I mentioned, British Air Tours Flight 28 Mike was a major cause of change in the aviation industry. Along with this one, there was also the another one, Pilgrim Airlines Flight 458, which had a very specific thing that they changed, which I personally would love to cover at some point on this program.
Put it on the
Um,
list.
it's been on the list. I wanted to
Okay,
do it
good.
with this one, but that would have taken
Oh,
us
that's right. That
very
was the
long.
one. Yeah, we're already
Uh,
2 hours into this one.
but that one happened, I think, a couple years earlier. Um, there were also ones that we learned nothing from, like the Saudia flight that burned up on the runway in Riyadh for reasons that we still don't know anything about. And then there were also other incidences like the Carrollton bus collision, which had many of the same issues that this did, that British Air Tours did, but happened,
Particularly in the super flammable
yeah,
materials that
on
off gas terrible things.
so a lot of these things occurred all within the same time period. Like this is all in the 1980s, within a 10-year period. And so a lot of this came to be, but specifically in terms of Air Canada 797, smoke detectors in lavatories was a big one. Apparently Pan Am had already been doing this. They were just using residential type fire extinguishers that did catch a couple of
I
people, a couple of like actual fires, but most of the time was people smoking.
I mean, I would rather them they at least tried something when they didn't have to.
Yeah, no, it was genuinely useful. It did catch
Yeah.
two incidences.
Pan Am should have never gone away. God damn.
Pan Am had a host of problems that
Yes, they
were
yes,
not its
they
own were not its own making, but yes, some of them were its own making, but yes.
some were.
Deregulation of the airline industry is a topic that we could spend 10 hours on. We would never cover it fully.
Get ready for your first 5-part or somehow you didn't die on your way to work, where we cover uh, airline deregulation, and then our first 6-parter on railroad deregulation.
Our first sun up to sundown episode is
God.
airline deregulation, which is completely hamstrung by the fact that Joe knows way too much about literally every airline from that period. And so it's like, here's the history of Braniff. Here's the history of PSA. Here's the history of Southwest. Here's the history of Frontier. Here's the history of Republic. It's just like, Joe, will you stop talking? No.
I we can't talk about Southwest until I'm a little less salty about what they did to my family. We're not going to get into that on the podcast, but I'm still salty about them, and I might make some actionable threats.
Okay, this is America. We're allowed to do that. It's only when you can make an actionable threat. I don't care. What
Against people
if
that are still alive, I don't know.
I
But anyway,
am
off
fairly certain
off.
that's a First Amendment case, but anyways, so what did we learn? Emergency lighting in planes is another
It
huge thing.
those little strips along the aisleway, the little dashes of light you see along there, but that then all of a sudden make a sharp right angle turn, coincidentally in line with the overwing doors or whatever emergency
Or
exits
yeah,
might be
or
on that plane.
the seat lighting at the very base that in the little safety video that you don't watch turns red when you get to the exit row. That's why this is here.
Hmm.
Um, exit markers at eye level as well. That's why a lot of times you'll see the overwing exit signs above the wings. That's why there's exit signs at the ceiling, so you can look up and see them.
Multiple markings for different situations.
And then another one that most people don't think about is there was a call for by the NTSB for more fire extinguishers for the crew, like and better ones like halon ones and things like that, so that they
Yeah,
can.
CO2. I'd have to check, but I think CO2 isn't great for electrical fires.
No, CO2 is good for an electrical fire.
Is it? Okay.
CO2 clean agents are ones you want for electric cars when you don't want to damage the equipment you're putting out. But it's more so you don't want to use water or powder a lot of the times.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I looked
I
at
need
the
to do
price
my
of
fire safety training again.
I looked at how much it cost to get a clean agent extinguisher, and one the size of a Coke bottle was $3,000.
Ooh. Just write it off, Joe. Whatever it is, just write it off.
That's not how that works. And as you can see, this is a copy of the New York Times from the day after the fire. So, which I mostly put in here for this sick ass photo
That
of
photo is pretty cool.
the plane. But anyways,
It's well lit right there, but in the heat of the moment, they didn't have the floodlights set up out there for investigation. And you can
yeah,
see the top half of that image is black.
yes, because it's dark out. It's dark out, and the plane had red stripes on it, which shows up black on black and white photography. Because
Hell yeah.
I hate black and white photography so much. Use colors, you assholes.
Never.
That's the world. The world was designed in color, and you all are making it worse.
Color wasn't designed until 1860.
Cool. 200 years of precedent. I win. But anyways, now we have to cover another thing. So you'll see here that there are two separate NTSB reports, plus and a New York Times article praising the flight crew. So this is just to sort of illustrate how well everybody thought of them. And actually, Captain Cameron and First Officer we met did win awards for airmanship and everything. However, in the first NTSB report, NTSB AAR 8409, they did say as part of the final result was that the crew did not, was that part of the causes of the accident was the crew did not land at Louisville Standiford. And so this gave the fire more time to burn. There was immediately after that a big outcry from various pilot organizations.
Yes.
And plus a full statement from First Officer we met that sort of like explained exactly the thought process in the cockpit that basically outlined that the airplane wasn't in a good position to make it to Louisville, that there was a variety of information conflicts going on in the cockpit at that point. And so in 1986, they released AAR 8602, which superseded AAR 8409, which changed the final cause to lessen the amount of responsibility the pilots had for the cause of the accident.
It does also include several documents in favor of the flight crew that influenced this decision to make a new NTSB report and change the final outcome.
Yeah, because it was not on them. I can see where the thing would have come from, but Louisville was much closer. And from their cruising altitude, it might not have been the right decision. And from the information that he was given, it made more sense to head for Cincinnati. Keep in mind that their first plan was to go to Toronto. Like imagine if they had been like the worst case scenario, two dipshits in charge of a DC-9, and they had just kept
going.
This would have been the like Washington courthouse midair breakup as the thing breaks up over rural north central Ohio near where I live and scatters itself in 1,000 pieces. It's like the tail comes off.
Or just over the lake there.
I don't think it would have made it. It wouldn't have made it that far.
Probably not.
It would have broken up somewhere over. Actually, let's go back and see where it would have. Fuck, I have to go all the way back. It would have broken up somewhere over. Oh, it would have been over Indiana. This would have been like over Indiana, like the Fort Wayne air disaster, which I live in the general area of here. I've been over here. Do you know what's over here?
Fucking nothing.
Nothing. God, that would have been terrible.
That being forced to die in northeastern Indiana
or northwestern Ohio, yeah. They try and make Toledo. It's the first time anyone's ever tried to get to Toledo and they die.
So let me see. Oh well, you know what? At least they would have missed Gary,
Yeah,
because a
Gary's in the
plane,
wrong direction.
yeah, a plane die or a plane crashing in Gary and killing everybody on board would be the second worst thing to ever happen in Gary.
After being born in Gary.
Yeah, everybody who was ever born there.
But, Zach, we have another slide that I clicked on by
No, I
accident.
saw it, you son of a bitch. Don't
I
you ruin
did
this for me.
I didn't know that you had included a slide transition. The
Mm, mm,
only
mm, mm.
slide transition in this podcast, I would like to point out.
The only one. Before we get off of this slide, I'm gonna have to do some digging in my own personal life, because that woman in the top left of the newspaper article, Lisa Eric of Denton, Texas, I am like 80% sure that I went to school with her grandson.
What
I
the
am
again with this?
I'm gonna have to I haven't talked to this dude in years, but I'm gonna have to try to see if I can get in touch with
Her
him.
husband, Randy Morris, as well.
Brandy doesn't sound familiar,
Okay.
but
There's
she
some
looks familiar. She her Okay,
it's
so
this
this guy
one
I'm
here.
thinking, yeah, the guy I'm thinking of has a face that looks very similar, and the last name Eric.
Okay.
So
I fantastic.
it's either it's going to be one of those things where they actually are related, or they're not related, but they have the same last name and they just coincidentally live very close to each other, which actually has happened to me quite a bit.
Yeah, I
So
know.
we'll find
Yeah,
out.
I know. You have a funeral home in law.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to get buried by Zach, you're not actually. That's the wrong lie brand.
I bet you are you excavator certified? You could just do that anyways.
I mean, I could figure it out with a case of beer.
I know how to drive an excavator. I can do that. I don't have a place to put someone, but that's not an issue with an excavator.
I got a backyard. It'll be all right.
Um, anyways,
Anyways, now
so
the
I do want to
title.
point out right here for a second. We also have one of the more famous victims was George Curtis Mathis Jr., who ran the
Yes,
Curtis Mathis Appliance Company.
Mike, I know you had mentioned this when I told you we were going to record this episode. I still don't know who the fuck he is, but there you go. There's your George Curtis Mathis Jr. mention.
He ran a home electronics company. They built
Yeah.
TVs and stuff. And that's the only famous person in this plane crash.
No.
Absolutely.
What's
Really.
the title about? What's the title
I
about, you may
don't
ask? How did Canada lose its voice? Who was on this plane returning from a folk festival in Kerrville, Texas, that needed to go to Canada?
I
He
don't
was going to
know.
fly all the way from DFW, stay on the plane in Toronto, and go to Montreal.
The
Let's take a look.
guy from Theodore Tugboat who was in the Mamas and the Papas.
No, I think all those guys were just assholes.
So it
If I
wasn't
remember right,
him.
all the
Okay.
Mamas and the Papas guys were assholes.
His name was Denny. I know that. He was never mind. Anyway, keep going. This is him. Okay.
This is Stan Rogers. Stan Rogers, who seems to be currently experiencing a bit of a revival, was a Canadian folk singer on par with Gordon Lightfoot. He wrote several songs that became famous for capturing basically the lives of little people, so to speak. The farmer in the field, the fisherman in a town that was dying off.
The guy so
He
in love with his ship that starts a salvage concern.
Yes. I have a tattoo of that, actually.
I know you do.
You do, but they don't.
I almost thought you were going to put a picture of it in here.
I thought about it, but I decided not to. Stan Rogers was, as we mentioned, famous singer. He wrote a song called Northwest Passage that was so popular that it was voted as basically the runner-up for the Canadian national anthem on a CBC poll.
I didn't know that.
Yes. And he was among the fatalities on this flight. He had just performed at a folk concert or folk festival in the town of Kerrville, which is just west of San Antonio. Probably hopped on a connecting flight from San Antonio up to
On Texas
DFW.
International or some bullshit like
Oh
that.
yeah, some tiny ass thing. Or
No, no. Texas International got bought by Continental, so this was Continental. See, I know way too much about
you
airlines from
do.
this
Holy
period.
shit! You just pulled that right out.
You- I have the I don't have the autism, which is the funniest part of this. There's something else wrong with me.
No, you've got it. Everybody displays it a little differently.
I
You've got it.
took
You're
the
in there.
test.
Game
I
knows
took
game.
I took the test and it said no. It said you're neurotypical.
I don't believe it.
Neither does Ross.
But this is why Air Canada 797 killed the voice of Stan Rogers, and this is why the last album we have from Stan Rogers is it's still okay, but it's mediocre for Stan, unfortunately.
I have some Stan Rogers facts too, which is that one of the songs he was about to put out actually from this, that after he got back was actually going to be about another maritime disaster.
Ooh, I haven't heard about this.
So have you heard of the sinking of the SS Marine Electric?
I I vaguely know of it.
The SS Marine Electric was one of those great modern American tragedies where a ship that's a heap of ship that was sailing in weather it clearly should not have been in, snapped in half and sank because the owners were too cheap to do anything for it. Um,
Jesus.
and then there was this massive drawn out legal battle about who was responsible. And the Coast Guard sort of got caught with their pants down because they were like rubber stamping safety things. Um, and the American Bureau of Shipping as well. But anyways, the one guy who survived this was the chief mate, Bob Cusick, who was from like Massachusetts. He actually he survived in part thanks to a very early application of Gore-Tex, or
No
which
shit.
because his wife had bought him like a very early 1980s North Face jacket or something else that had Gore-Tex in it, and it acted like a wetsuit as he sat in like the half-sunk lifeboat in this like Class 7 gale that had snapped
That's
the marine.
wild.
But anyway, the other reason why Bob Cusick survived was that he was, for the entirety of the storm, bellowing out the Mary Ellen Carter over and over and over again because that was the only thing he could think of.
Oh,
And
that's the one. I've heard of that. I didn't realize he was on the Marine Electric.
yes, he was bellowing out the
Yes.
lyrics of Mary Ellen Carter. Stan found out about this, and I want to say it was actually at the Kerrville Folk Festival. He announced he was going home to write a song about it. And then
I know that the last verse was added because of that incident.
I
And
did
it
not I did not know that.
yes.
But um
Yeah, it originally was just about the ship, the Mary Ellen Carter, but then he added that last one after the Marine Electric, and he heard about that, and apparently heard about it early enough to record it before he died. But it's the verse that goes, "And you to whom adversity has dealt the final blow, with smiling bastards lying to you everywhere you go, turn to and put out all your
all
strength
the
of
strength
arm
and
and
heart
heart
and
and
heart and
brain,
have, like the Mary
like
Ellen
Mary Ellen
Carter, rise
Carter, rise
again.
again."
I'm so glad we have this shared autism. This is autism to autism communication right here. But um, that's one of the facts I have. Another one that I have is actually more of an interesting supposition that I've sort of learned by like because I've seen enough of One Warm Line, the documentary about Stan, which is that almost the reason why everybody knows about him as much as they do is because he died.
Yeah.
Because obviously he wasn't even like 35. When this is 1980s face right here. This man looks 50, is like younger than is almost my age,
Oh,
you know?
he in this photo, he is my age.
Yeah. He looks he which is just how the 80s were, the 70s and 80s were. But um one of the things is that obviously he dies in this tragic plane crash. It sort of elevates him. It also is sort of you either die a hero or you live long enough to become a villain, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But another thing is that one of the rumors and one of the like stories of hearsay that swirl around in the mix whenever you talk about Air Canada 797 is the allegation. And I would like to say allegation because it's highly unlikely this happened, considering the toxic hellscape that was inside the airplane at that point. Was that a tall man with a deep voice was telling people to come this way and guided them to the exits. And
Mm.
so now, could this have been Stan Rogers? Possibly. However, it's equally as likely that Stan Rogers was dead on the floor,
Yep.
having ingested hydrogen cyanide by this point. So there's no real way to prove that. If I recall correctly, he was a very tall man. Judging
Yes.
from how the airplane was fit, the smoke was going. I bet if he stood up to try and say, come this way, he made it through one sentence and then died.
Yeah, he would
And
have been in the thick of
I
it.
hate to be like the I hate to be like the killer of all fun, but he probably died peacefully because his brain was not accepting that there was anything else happening. Although I actually, now that I think about this, I would love to see a height chart of all the passengers to see if only short people lived. If
Oh,
if you are above 5'10" or like 5'8", did you die because your head was just further up?
I'd be dead.
Yeah,
You'd be dead too.
I'd be dead in most plane crashes, but I'm just interested in I would be interested in knowing that. But yeah, no, this dying in the plane crash, the heroic figure of a large man bellowing come this way is a very like there's a reason why some people refer to him as Saint Stan. You know,
Yeah.
it's it's not always the truth. The truth is he was probably just a normal guy who nowadays would have a Twitter account, which is terrible. But
Don't do this. He
what?
he died the hero. Leave him there.
He died the hero. He is crystallized in amber as this mid-30s guy who had a couple of banger albums. And that is what everybody remembers because nobody else is ever going to know what he would have done had he gone forward.
I mean, if nothing else, his son and his brother are still good people
Yes,
today.
they are. No, I'm not saying I'm not
Well,
saying
okay,
anything.
so the trend seems to be good, but yes, in the 21st century, there's the possibility he could have had a very bad Twitter account because the
J.K.
internet
Rowling was a
fucks with
good
your
person.
brain,
J.K. Rowling was a good person at one point.
or at least
And,
hid that she wasn't for a good
yeah.
while.
So obviously, I'm not saying that he would have been, but I'm just saying like this. The reason why everybody knows about him is not from him being is because he died so suddenly. I
Yeah,
almost wonder what would happen had he just like had a normal life and just like maybe we just know about him if you're in folk circles because he retired in the 90s or something, or maybe he would have been he would have been Celine Dion before there was Celine Dion. Who
I
knows?
don't know. I think maybe he
Stan Rogers doing a rock album would have been really
ew.
good.
He
That would have been good. He could.
possibly he was getting some success around that time. Um, I'm pretty sure that CBC poll was before he died.
Okay, then I did not know that. But it's one of these things best left to idle daydreams than anything else because we don't know. But
I I
he,
I do want to do a correction on the fly. Apparently, the last stanza of Mary Ellen Carter was already in there, and the wherever I heard that it was added after the Marine Electric wreck was false.
yeah, I was gonna say the
My
Marino.
bad. My bad,
I was gonna
everybody.
I was gonna say because Mary Ellen Carter came out like I have shipwreck songs on my playlist, which is this and the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. They came out shockingly close to each other,
Yes, they did.
which is the Marine Electric sank in like 81 or 82, which was not near when the Mary Ellen Carter was released. But
79 for the song, 83 for the Marine Electric.
yep. No, this happened like right before he died. Like he found out about this and it was like, I'm going to write a song about it, and then immediately boarded 797.
Yeah.
So, yeah, is there anything else that we need to cover while looking at Saint Stanley, the Saint Stan of the
Did you say
Maritimes?
Saint Stan Lee?
Saint Stan of the Maritimes.
He was not drawing comics. He's not Stan Lee. But
Well, his
yes,
name is Stanley, isn't it?
Stan Rogers. Oh,
Stan.
you're saying Stanley the first name. I was thinking
Yeah.
Stan space Lee.
No, Saint Stanley of the Maritimes.
Okay, I'm down for that.
Is there anything? Is there anything else?
Fuck you, Air Canada, for taking all these good songs away from us.
I mean, just fuck Air Canada in general, from what I've heard. Are you Canadian? Please chime in the comments. Do we say, is there fuck Air Canada, or do we need to get into Quebecois swearing?
I want to learn some vague backwater Quebecois swears.
There has
Like
to be
that,
one
that
specifically.
fucked up weird French they do.
There has to be one specifically about Air Canada. There has to be some sort of
There's
normal
a
ass
word for it.
some
Like,
normal ass Catholic word that's been bastardized to mean specifically Air Canada canceled the flight. The one weekly flight to nowhere's to Pont Saint Nowhere in Quebec.
I want to hear it. Tell us in the comments.
Yeah,
I'm also going to be blasting this out to every Canadian I've ever met asking this question.
fantastic. But
But
speaking of
I think I'm done.
speaking of questions, we have one more slide, which is: did you almost die in a public transit accident or on any form of public transit for any reason? We are interested in hearing your story. Please email us at sydtoywtw@gmail.com. If you have pictures to include, that would be even better. Um, we would like to just know what happened to you, either as an employee, a passenger, or someone who witnessed this happening, because we like
I
hearing these stories.
I think I'd also like to expand this offering just a little bit to open it up to a few more people. Did you see something bizarre on public transit? And don't email me because you saw a guy jacking it on the train. Unfortunately, that happens way too often. I want the truly bizarre. I want the thing that makes you question whether you're actually awake or having a really weird dream.
I Yes, I would like to say also we need these to be at least half a couple. You need to put a little bit of writing skill into this, so like at least half a page or something, so we can have some meat to dig into and get through this. I don't want I saw a squirrel and that's it. No
My
one's
bus
done
ran over
this.
a squirrel.
This is not a call out, but I know how I deal with things, and I would like a at least somewhat of a sizable explanation so we can display it prominently.
Yeah. Yeah. But hey,
Um,
send us. I want to hear it. Maybe we could use something lighthearted after talking about people dying throughout the last 2.5 hours.
oh, I was hoping we could get into even more death for the next episode. I don't know.
Jesus Christ. Oh, please help us lighten the mood. Listener, I beg you.
Yes,
But
but
I think that's it for me.
that's it. That is it. So thank you very much for listening. You should go listen to Stan Rogers. Specifically, you should go listen to the Mary Ellen Carter Northwest Passage.
Barrett's Privateers is always a
Eric's
good one.
Privateers is the best.
Great bar song.
White Squall is very sad.
Oh, that one hurts.
White Squall, if I could offer a safety tip, always tie yourself off on a boat, no matter how big
I
or
think
small.
that's kind of. Oh yeah. Sorry, I got that confused with Flowers of Bermuda.
No.
Yeah, tie yourself on the line. The lakes will kill you. We've established this.
Yep. But yeah. And with that, have a very good whenever.
Thank you all for
We didn't
listening.
we didn't even have an intermission in this one. I forgot that. Oh well. Bye.
Yeah, I remembered like 30 minutes ago.
I'm sorry, everyone. If it's a real long one, we'll do it. I don't think this one's that long. Oh, it's 2.5 hours. We're behind schedule.
That's
Goodbye.
great for us. Bye.